def si kan yi di leen wax ne ànd leen ak Eye Africa TV lépp loo xam ne xew na fii si National Assembly incha allah ñu leen ko daal di dicté.
This is a constitutional requirement for the President of the nation to, of course, come every year, once in a year, to address the nation. And of course, I have Kex Sane also in the studio here with me. Kex, how are you?
Thank you.
Great. This is, like I said, a constitutional requirement for the President to address the nation, of course, every year, wants to tell us about his policies, about what his programs are. What do you think of this?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is important. It is let's first look at it why it is in the Constitution, because it is very important for citizens to know what is the plan of their government, and we have what we call the people's representative, that is the National Assembly. And there is no better places where they can audit or hold government accountable than the National Assembly, since all of us cannot come to the parliament and represent ourselves. So every constituency is obliged to select one person to be your voice in the parliament. And the Constitution said that since you have two separate arms of government, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary, and you have the executive, they said the executive must be answerable to the National Assembly so that they can be audited on the affairs of the state. And the Constitution provides that the President must come to the National Assembly to tell us his plans and his programs and the state of the nation. You know, it is a constitutional. So it is a very important day, and it is a very important requirement or a constitutional provision that must be adhered. And today we are here expecting that the President should come and address the National Assembly and tell us his programs and his policies. But one can interrogate again whether it is the right time for the President to do it or not. And one will say that it is not the right time, because the purpose is not just for a mere fanfare, but the purpose is for the government to tell us their programs and their policies, how they want to intend to run the government in that particular year. So best practice requires that since the Constitution is live the
Okay, so Kex, I will get back to you, but Nyang, li dafa nekk loo xamante ne constitutional requirement la président bi daf ko war a def at bu nekk benn yoon si National Assembly, waaye nag waxuñu ban time la ko war a def ak ban heure la ko war a def, waaye nag gis nañ ñu bari ñu ngi wax ne lii daf dee léeg torop pour président bi ñëw si National Assembly bi waxtaan ak nit ñi pour wax ni moom programme sam yi mooy lan ak policies sam yi mooy lan. léegi yow naka nga gisee lii yow da nga foog ne lii daf dee late ndax da nga foog ne comme time bii la ko war a def. yokkal sa baat.
xam ne moo tënk waaw muy constitution bi dafa may njiiti réew mi at bu nekk mu ñëw benn yoon si National Assembly fii daal di fi waxtaanee jublukaay réew mi fan la ko jëmale ak naka la ko bëgg a yóbboo ak lan la si àndal su ko defee ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk si penc ndaw réew mi député yi ñooñu dem daal di si def jàngat waxtaanee ko mu nekk loo xam ne comme ni ñu ko waxee rek constitution moo ko may donte le amul déet boo xam ne den na si weer sangam wala weer bi ondi nangam wala weer bi nangam wante liñ baaxoon di gis président Adama Barrow ñu ñëw si bopp réew mi ak léegi time bu ci lay ñëw ak lii des si at bi dafa xala day gàtt tuuti si li nga xam ne si la National Assembly di faral di amal seen dibéet si su ko defee nag loolu bokk na si li nga xam ne askan bi si boppam moo jàmbat ko si réew yi bëri fi nekk nii soo bàyyi xel seen njiiti réew yi dem na bu yàgg wax lu mooy wax su ko defee su fekkee ne ay mébét bokk na si lu waa bi ko fokk mu nekk ay mébét yi nga xam ne pour at bii ñëw la soo loolu nag naka la ko National Assembly bi di waxtaanee su fekkee dafa wax lu nga xam ne nii ne def na nangam nit ñi war koo xam ñu war a gëstu loolu ndax dinañ am time pour gëstu loolu soo loolu yëpp bokk na si li nga xam ne ni nit ñi wax nañ ne waroon na di gaaw a def mu am ay ñeenti weer before National Assembly bi war a jeexal seen sitting si loolu dina doon nekk lu am solo lépp luñ si war a xam bu ko waxee ñu gëstu ko xam ko si time bi waaye loolu yëpp maanaam dindee am jot bo wala dindee am time bi nga xam ne ni su fekkee wax na fi loo xam ne dafa nit investigation wala dafa nit pour gëstu ko député yi xam ko duñ ko dee xam kon nekk na lu nga xam ne bu koy indi gàllankoor donte la constitution bi waxut ne weer bi da nga ko war a def by force wala bis bi da nga ko war a def mooy seet fu mu ko féetoo waaye dina de nekk lu nga xam ne jaaxal na te askan bi te bëggoon neen lii di teel a am pour lépp luñ si jàngat lépp luñ si saytu lépp luñ si gëstu bu fekkee ñu mun koo def waxtaanee waat loolu balaa diir bu nga xam ne ni National Assembly bi duñ tëj wala dinañ nekk ci sitting bi waaw.
jërëjëf Of course, you're reminded that you're watching iAfrica TV. This is your favorite, of course, TV channel that you will always watch, and also they have an interesting programs. We are live at the National Assembly, like I said before, where we are expecting the president any time from now to come and address the nation of his policies and programs. Of course, we know the pandemic, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, had a really bad impact in our economy. Of course, it is expected to know his plans for all this, especially the second wave that we are in now, which is really challenging in business, in micro business owners and other, of course, many or big businesses in the country. So, ñang dañoo dem rek ma laajte la waat yow naka nga fogo loo gis si président bi comme ñëwaan bii nii time bii nii comme laajte woon naa la ne ndax dafa late ndax da nga foog ne comme lateut waaye nag gis nañ ñoo xamante ne ñun si dëkk bi ñu ngi wax ne président bi su ñëwoon mun nañ koo scrutinize because this is almost the end of the year ñu ngi ñëw weer baa ngi at bi mu ngi jee fu mu nekk nii te élection bi tamit yàggatut so yow da nga foogoon ne ndax su ñëwoon teeloon na ñëw ndax dina doon gën a baax pour nit ñi mun a xam moom lan ak lan la def pour si réew mi daal.
waaw jërëjëf ci laajte bi am na solo te askan bi si boppam ñoo ko buggee woon noonu comme noo ko waxee ren dafa nekk at bu nga xam ne ni ati élection la te parti bu nekk yaa ngi koy waajal ak façon waajaay bu nekk fu mu nekk nii amul dëkk bi moo amul jot si boppam moo tax fu mu nekk nii président bi si boppam pour su doon teel a ñëw bu baax dina doon dimbale li nga xam ne mooy askan bi dina doon dimbale li nga xam ne mooy député yi bépp mébét bu nga xam ne indi na ko fi comme moo ko waxee si gannaaw mébét boo xam ne nii wax na ko te nit ñi xamul fu ñu ko teg di ko mun a bàyyi xel waaye right now daf dee leen dontale nag comme ni ñu ko waxee si gannaaw yoon may na ko mu ñëw ak weer bu nekk waaye daf leen waroon a seet li nga xam ne nii suñ ko defee mooy gën si askan bi mooy gën si réew mi mu ko def mu bëgg di teel a ñëw waaye gis nañ ne moom depuis mu ñëw si bopp réew mi ba léegi time bi la ko def di amal te njiit réew mi nga xam ne moo fi jóge woon daan na ñëw ay ñetti weer balaa National Assembly bi di fi nekk loolu moo war a nekk li nga xam ne nii waroon na ko bàyyi xel bu baax a baax a baax so waaw.
Adim mandin ko le ni yalon ko wala be kene jambi e ba mu da fala mo
felen be digide bungole do jam banko la loi bu ko ka fo me ko banko la kitabo wala londe ko president o sango kono signa kele nga nyanda kana digide bungo kono le pour a fo mole abe banko ta mandila nyaadi le ane mina mala ferolti ane mina mala programme olti pour ka banko samba ba marala nyame so biti lo lam fele député bungo kono a président on ada pour ko o constitutional requirement wala loi bu ko e membo pour ka sembentu ya ka ke bayre loi le ya nyenen ka inata jibe dulati jamme anon ka kumma da président molsa kisi dame wala molsa nyinen ka dame do men tambita député bungo la bayre député bungo ye banko lon ala mobe siri njele bayre mbeti nano nga sino député bungo do wala ne ko constituency ye mo kilin tombo me anon ko lata la ya 40 soda sembo soda no sodo pour asina siéger député bungo so kamunda bi président nate danko banko bella pour la constitutional requirement wala be parlement to jam
but if imam muida comme electale comme akana year time o minna because molia cross baake anu diamol fana be keri ne min tata compress tango aka let baake le pour kanana kat national ning address wala ka ala banku dingol ning address ala programme solto kon ya fanya mana ala police solto wala mala ferol ning kuwalti mi yalon ka ye landi pour nim banko dun ta ku kono ase mol bondino nyame e mamira letale because ka sango nyimbina bankane
ha toñale bayri luwa buko ni nina to jibe bayri banko ka tama luwa buko la mba fala ko hansay luwa e hapo mendiala wala luwa e sembo mendiala hansay be wala kono bar nina ta ya kisi ya jibe mine fo mu nyum ko nafati ay safo no le tonya letale because ni manke rek pour kana président o diam rek ay janjanga eta ni aje constitution ya kala buko kono dalila le bala dalilo men bala wala nyinde ko bayri minale ya fo mole ko mina muytela programme de sango mume akanyi nyale pour yena at the first beginning of the year pour ya fo mole bayri député bungo nafulo muta ya approuvé ka fo me di budget ay wakana janin sango be banda fan janin sankuto be lola rek e ka budget o nyimuta ka approuve so nin banku dingol tada fo yo kodo ditela ndita ko ba dunda programme ko so be nyala pour yana yafa ale ko ale kodo men dinna dal nyim fero ni nyim ferel bi je la faka dundi janne yana sango la follow la ni o fo mole ba jala ko janne sango be bannam ba kisi la ngatame ko president men fo mole ban fo abe wala ke kam ban famanto ke kam ban ni tada fo sida fo sango kana ban e finti dana mol kay ko ndela programme ni na police sola nyin sango kono la faka nyin ne ke sango tuta kare saba aka munda ko amanke best practice international ni tada dulal jibe banko dol kan wol kake fon first month of the year e kana ya ko mole ko muna wala best practice bari loi man seneaje president nyanda ka best practice leta a fo mole ko ayna sango ni na bo sansan tende kana nan ka fo mole dela miraro do ale bala
mole a jele fanan na banko ni yalo ko man ke Gambia ci bari African countries la la president jamali ya bide wol ko ya ka ko ni amu man ke Gambia na mo dini ya be ci president ya mole ya expect the right ala sango kono at least one ay finta ya mala mole ko yemu na jewo
wala kajele ko minema nafaade because amanke rek pour kana rek ngakanta on ko nga banal ko dalile ba kono so ya bule bulu purita hakilo bayre mole na fulo le do bulu so the best thing is momo ya kerek e banko jibe me anko they are very democratic wala they believe in the best practice wol ba kala sangola follow dulale because akumada pour yake wado la e bayela ko banko dingol be audit la ne fon fen tije mbalo na fo president wallahi dimena because contrat ko le be banko dingol ni president o tem wala na sanji lulo kada election la pour que audit kalon fo nge bula do ko men na fo yakele fo e mage so ni nge bula ndo ko fana na banko la na fulo ta ngadi lan ko pour programme nan na mole development nan na mole policy nan na abe nyala pour na yafo ko ale ko do men dina January kono defa na fela murda nan January wala February ka pale ko ale ko do men dépense o dina pour nga banko do ko mbakala nyin de bayela ko nen sango dara fo November wala by this time del besi ñu panel si fa so do nga sin ko say al nga president mu da nga audit ban nga panel o so do men ko be discuss la okay nga president anata nan num parlement la ko mole in January wala February ko mole ko ñu planol ni programme le babul faya soto le ban faya achieve le ban fama achieve but science intending at a rumo create no la pour so ma nga sino nga banko dingol kala mutande ka antandi la fo president men fo faake dal fama muna
mune ya tinna ila miro kono ya mira abin yinke kam kuma ke batu funyin time
yalong mulka banko mutale ya inherit the moment a banko inherit they follow the procedures mele ya bije they don't understand, they don't sit down and understand because president anata laje ko the former regime member jang at least or maybe mid of the year most of the time July nyol kada August nyol sifala ka finti na ina state of the nation address so etel fanal kabiyo jere they just jump up rek inata ne fanali o procedure muta ya follow but atel lanna tambira de kada for almost 3 months because this is 2 times me alan ko kanana at the end of the year ibuka koros to interrogate asonte amira menti ma koros muna dalilo yatinna state of emergency state of nation address akumma yada wala muna ma dalilo de because no interrogate rek ya understand rek muna ma dalilo de e bakela wato la mealon ko abekela wato sangola follow dulalti saje mol salon so akamunta rek ma interrogate wala na be commandiro kala député wala pour nata si falendiro kana constitution o baya manke fenoti ka fo me entrance clause mealon ko hadama dingol le sa faleno wala banko dingol de ba député fon sa faleno la pour yo provision o nyim fali ya fako force session of the National Assembly, the president must come. I formally minimal program or canina policy solti. Central Bank would hold accountable.
Okay. Of course, 2017, abukunyin time o mafangale president fango ya bankonin fenke ta. So if I made a comment in wasilo le inata address in 2017. So ima mira kom ibe wot silo da maleta kan pour ka maintain pour ka make sure ne kom ibel in lane
tele walata bod ni nata jibe ko ngafo nyamere kan sa memoro kuma kilin wala kare ibe fango jibe la munam nyinna dalilo ala ne fango la dalilo lo rek ba understand na munan anyata ka ke wato menna ni a interrogate so
mbedam intenting of course na CDS fanangela dum tanang molbina kan ne demanding we've seen the CDS of the country Okay, Kex na CDS dam jele scientist nga duntana. Of course, mol bina kane domanding and we believe sambi mo jamal fanambe dunana. Continue dorong idantanunda.
Ko nga fo nyame rek so ni na de banko ta e ka jibele ko mune mala best practice ti la banko dandan wala ye korosi because mulka government good practice mulka ata bankol bulle always international it is accepted anywhere that to copy what we call good practice so abe kuma ya bala ne banko ta ya jibe munan na banko dol kake at the beginning of the year munan nambuga ke neo interrogate ke balo na mine mala nafata ani mine mala kuma ya de ngamire felta ka wala ke ka interrogate ka long mine mate but they follow the procedures of the former regime ka muda rek anytime be pareta rek se wuli no le na député bungoto so wala nan koy ko kuma ya da pour na député olier wuli ya constitution on provision on pour ya falen baye ni o falendiro ke je mbalon na dal dig banko dimol
yalla ni ko the first regime wol ya janun the first regime wol ka kele the former regime sorry wol ka kele at least every quarter of the year mostly so there is a difference with this
at least wol ka kele but capital na wala nan ko te lella na tambola ke je capital na they go beyond even ya taranun damendo because ni na yaji be ko ka ke julale at least that will be understandable ni yake no July we still have 6 months to hold you accountable and we will have ample time pour ka muruna koma ka jibe president mun do kul leke ani ngata ngala speech o compare I menke no député wala den balon na for whether he have been achieving I men for mole fama keno but ni na for almost 3 months say ngamenol mante mira kam fena na mange carte for at this present moment so nobody will have even the time to compare the president's speech on the issues mele alon ko bekeka o nana rabbi for example nganda walo dila rek ngafon dila rek isida fo suda ba kada e manta mar so do tabiro ke kana ka ko nyako nyanda ka mineta bi that's how it is so president nyanda ka wulile at the early stage ka ko mole ko len dépense o mendina because aka munta wala dépense o len ya di mo la pour nga ko dañi munda nga topoto so ni sida fo sudo ina de ka ko mole ko kada marché wolto pour kana kan duga kale something me nan ka man correct so wala nan ko best practice president nyanda kanal do ngamira na be nyam programme wala ni men sudi ada men bala mola na fa international ni tara dunia dawda best practice is important tra kanana sangola follow la wala la tema dula aka fo mole même la programme policy soldi sergeants are hold onto accountable
so yow ci sa xalaat gis nañu ñu bari ñoo xamante ne ñu ngi complain ne dafa war a ñëw teel a ñëw pour ñu mun qualifié gis nañ ay African country ñoo xamante ne daal ñu ngi def lu ni si beginning of the year te gis nañ loolu noonu mu ngi am si African country yu bari yow luy sa xalaat
jërëjëf waxtaan bi am na solo bu baax wante comme ni ko kepp si doon waxee si matin rek mbir la boo xam ne lépp luy si waxtaanee rek war na nekk lu teel su ko defee dina nekk lu nga xam ne tam lu am solo la moo nekk waaw dina am solo tey xam naa ne tey dinañ fi déggee lu nga xam ne nii su président bi accès after that su demee député dinañ daal di jàngat yooyu noonu dina nekk jàngat yi nga xam ne tam yu am solo lay nekk waaw.
Part of the discussions, of course, today we are expecting him to talk to us about, and that is the nation, is economic policies and agriculture, health, and tourism, among other sectors. What do you think these sectors have done so far?
Precisely, this is why I was telling you that it is very important. If you look at when the pandemic hit the world, Gambia solely rely on tourism. But you know, our tourism has shrunk down if you look at it, because tourists were no more coming into the country, and we know that the country solely rely on tourism in terms of developing our economy. So this is why I was telling you that it would be very important, hadn't been that the president has came earlier and tell us that, okay, there's a pandemic right now and the tourists are no more coming. But this is the alternative that we have for the government in terms of our tourist sectors. These are the things, then it will be important. But now we are in the heat of the pandemic. People are not coming. So if you have to tell us what is your policies and your program in terms of tourism, what will you tell us? Because the tourists itself are not coming. They are not contributing anything to the GDP. So it is important. And agriculture, yes, it's important. But hadn't been that you have come earlier and tell the farmers that this is my plan for you people, they will have. But now we are in the midst of the rainy season. Farmers have even cultivated. Some of their crops have already reaped. What are you going to tell them? because it is important for government to do what we call weather forecast, to tell them whether this year raining season will be a perfect raining season or not. You educate the farmers, because people don't know. Sometimes this is why farmers will go and put their seeds under the soil, and the rain will stop for almost 3 months, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and their seeds will be eaten by the termites and the other things, because they are not being educated. That's the role of the weather forecast, to understand the pattern of the rain, how the rain will go, and educate the farmers to understand that this pattern, this year, the pattern of the rain will be, so that they will be educated when to plant their seeds and when not to plant their seed. But all those things are programs that the government should have on. This is why I was telling you earlier that it is important for them to tell us at the beginning of the year that, okay, 2021, this is our plan for the agricultural sector. And farmers will be informed, and we will tell them that this is how we want to supply you with the fertilizers and the seeds, and they will be well prepared. But you cannot sit down and wait now. If you tell the farmers, okay, this is our plan for the fertilizer, when they have already started the cultivation.
So when you talk about agriculture, of course, we've heard a lot of complaints from farmers, especially in the rural area, complaining about their fertilizers, and when it comes to farming, how difficult it is for them this year. Do you think this could be averted?
Actually, I'm not seeing any direction towards that, because if you look at even the fertilizers that have been produced or that have been given to the government, okay, government will import fertilizers in this country, and they will say that they have reduced the price. You know, government will decide to sell it to the farmers at $850 or $750. But you look at our farmers, how many of them can produce $800 for a bag of fertilizer? But at the end of the day, if it is in the Combosia, if you travel to my village like Nyamina, before it will reach there, the price will go up to $1,000 because of the transportation charges and the other thing. So the farmers cannot afford to do that. But we have what we call here our own natural manures that we could develop. And if the government has the plants, we're going to produce our, because we have this waste products that have been dumped at the back of the dump site and other areas. If we are separating our waste, there are other wastes that can be turned into manures that can help us, rather than bringing this chemical fertilizer, because farmers are even complaining that it's not good for their crops and other things. And you know, since the change of government so far, we have not seen the pattern of the agricultural sector when it comes to what they produce in the country. The production of the agricultural sector is going down, and even buying the crops of the farmers becomes a problem, because I could see last year farmers were even going to Senegal because the price that the government is offering to them and the other prices outside the Gambia is huge difference, and they prefer to sell their groundnuts or their crops outside the Gambia rather than selling it to the Gambia. But even if you look at where they normally the depot that is in charge, that the Gambia Groundnut Corporation, if you go there and look at the state of the Gambian Groundnut Corporation, GGC today, you know, it's under maintenance. It's not even functioning as we can speak right now. So all these things are issues. So the farmers actually, they don't have hope in agriculture, because government is not paying, is not contributing for the farmers to do a mass cultivation. The government will come out and buy their crop at a price that is definitely reasonable. So it's become a struggle between the farmers. At the end of the day, they cultivate, you know, just few, and if they remove what they will consume at the province, at the end of the day, what they are left with, you know, the government is not buying it at a price that is necessary. So they prefer to buy it outside the country, take it to Senegal or the neighboring countries. So I think government should have a critical study of the agricultural sectors. If you look at even the Jakal Pachar, you know, you look at how many loans or how many grants have come in terms of development of the agro, from the First Republic to the Second Republic up to Barrow's administration. Almost I have witnessed so many loans, agreements or grants that have came before the National Assembly for approval, talking about developing what we call cultivating what we grow, or the rice, food sufficient in terms of rice cultivation. But if you go to the state of Jakali, what is the government doing in terms of make sure that we produce the rice that we are doing? You look at it, we spend almost $3.9 billion in importing rice in this country. But if you could produce that, then we are putting $309 billion in the national coffers. But is government thinking in that direction? It is still questionable.
Right. So we will come back to you. Let me just ask you. So, yang topa faranga di proper president be of course ti lu bari si lo xamante mo nek toani, especially su nekké di dem ci provinces si projects yo xamantene yoy la am. Yow lo ñu mëna wax ci lolu non?
Waaw loolu li si gis nañ si yu bare bare sax comme ni ko Kebs waxee.
xam nañ tey dina am loo xamante ne dina ci laal.
waaw dina ci laal
loo xamante ne def nañ ko ba pare.
waaw
soo yow la ñu mën a wax si loolu.
waaw dina laal xam naa ne spécial mbiri yoon because ci provinces bi Renewable mbir am na ay yoon yu bëri yim teg yi nga Hakalang road bi xam naa ne dina ñëw dina mention loolu dina mention kaw Jimbala bi dina dégg nga ak beneen bu nga xam ne ni kër ji bi because yooyu yëpp ànd na moom seet visite si seet fan la liggéey yi toll jamono yooyu te xam naa ne dina si ñëwaat because time boobu noonu gisoon nañ ne liggéey mu ngi si woon si kawam xam naa léegi nii war naa so dina ñëw si loolu but su ñëwee ba nga xam ne mooy affaire yi mbéy bi xam naa dina si wax because always da nga ñi ngay wax ne ren lu mu indi si fertilizer government Gambia musul koo indi muy 20,000 tonnes ki mention na léegi di wax ne fertilizer ñu ngi ko doon jaay 750 dina doon jafe si koo xam ne ni xëy na saako maalo jafeñ na ko pour mu war a compléter jënd saako maalo ak fertilizer dina nekk problème waaye itam ba léegi foofu solution pexe amoon na fa tuuti because 750 yomb dina si saako engrais bi yomboon na waaye fay na lii engrais jëfandikoo nañ ko ni nga xam ne nii demoon na ba mujjee gi sax 1002 leen ko doon jaay xamuñ naka leen ko jëlee woon dafa mel ni indi na fertilizer bu bari lii di government bi waaye contrôle bu ko waroon pour si niñ koo joxee niñ koo saytoo ba nga xam ne nii kenn du ko jël di si defaat business si kaw nit ñi because am na ñu nga xam ne nii yow laajte neen si seen ñaame ne leen dëkk waroon a jënd fertilizer 750 waaye mujjee daf ko wane dëkk bi léegi 1002 moo fi nekk kon dafa mel ni am na ay business yi nga xam ne ni am na ñu ko doon teg si li nga xam ne mooy sa fertilizer bi ñeneen itam far di ko génnee sax réew mi ñu bëri di ko business si fi nga xam ne mooy si bitim réew parce que liñ ko doon jaayee si bitim réew moo gën a seer liñ ko doon jaay si Gambia kon dina ñëw si mbiri fertilizer waaye boobu niñ ko waroon a sàmmee niñ ko waroon a saytoo teg ko bët ba nga xam ne ni ñu ko yelloo dinañ leen ko jox si njëg li ñu waxoon ñoom ba pare itam dinañ ko doon mën a bàyyi xel ba nga xam ne jalgate du si am waaw.
The Republic of the Gambia, she's just coming into the National Assembly suñ mbokk yi ñoo xamante ne ñu ngi seetaan ay Africa TV vice président bi moo dugal léegi si National Assembly of course gis nañ motoom bi nga xamante ne mu ngi wàcca fu mu nekk nii si motoom bi pour ñëw waxtaan moom tamit fekkee loo xamante ne moo nekk the State of the Nation address mbadi mandinkol mbe daminten timbe vice président womi yalon ko walem of course wale nata sign tenting adu National Assembly kono no atele je tenting sign tenting a jitala moto kono okay so afana nata nyin kacha le jibe min be kerin jam pour ka lonko nyin le fawbe kerin jam waaw ñang mun nañ continuer rek of course gis nañ vice president bi mo nekk di dem ni fu mu nekk ni ci National Assembly bi waaw yan doon wax loo xamante ne dafa am solo trop waaw ñu may ko rek
ñaare ku si accès rek gars yi dinañ la tëggal junjee ñi mu ngi noonu taxaw na si rajo bi xam naa ñu ma day dégg ma day dégg
the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia. And of course, in the studio again, we have my colleague, Jude Mbalo Suare, or should I say Suare Mbalo. Jude, how are you?
Okay, and greetings to our wonderful viewers who are currently watching us live from the National Assembly chambers.
Thank you very much, Jude. We are discussing about things that are really important, especially when it comes to the state address. This is a constitutional requirement. As we all know, the president is supposed to do this every year. And most people are complaining this is not timely, like it's supposed to be at least quarter of the year, around the beginning of the year, so that people will, of course, scrutinize him at the end of the year to know what he has, of course, done or not. What's your take on this?
Well, it's a constitutional requirement, so it does not matter when it comes. And I think this is the right thing to do because it is a constitutional requirement and people ought to know what the government policies and programs were in the past legislative year. So it is incumbent on the president to come forward and then talk to the people of the Gambia as to how far he has gone with, you know, some of the policies and programs of the government of the Gambia. So last year he also told us that the economy has declined. They project a decline on the economy from 6% to 2% decline. And I want to believe that this time people will really want to know. It is the right of the Gambian people to know, the state of their economy, some of the government plans and policies that they have in place, and some of the promises that some of their policies that they were able to execute during the last legislative year. So, people might have their different views and all that as to when the president is actually supposed to come on board and then tell us their policies and programs. But I think it is incumbent on the president to come forward and tell people about their policies and programs. It is the right of the people to know what their policies and programs are, and what they were able to achieve, and some of the challenges, along the year.
Summarize what is happening here in our Fuller dialect. Of course, we have Fuller viewers who also are interested to know what is happening. Can you just summarize a bit of what is happening here in Fuller?
Mbadingol membe ke kanjang bi wala State of the Nation address di President Adama Barrow wala nata jam pour ka wala nyantanala bi National Assembly Chambers pour idea mum wole munem ala government la police state ani la programme ñin nak last year kabring anata jang ako molien ne ko comme molla economy molya project le comme a 6% decline from 6% to 2% decline, so economy nyimbe jila wolto saying this year fanang anyanta nalale afo molye ko economy nying ala state be nyadinne fannadol fanang government man sakundala fannadol fanang ila dula fanang abe nyadinne mune muitol fanan la batada koti wobe President Adama Barrow ba fola molye ne bi ani itolla government fango ye nung doku nyaleke in the area of infrastructure ye munekeje, in the area of health ye munekeje, in the area of education fanang ye munekeje. So wala na bi akuma yata bakele pour molye Gambia nole because ibalon nale diamo siata momo ba fola okay President Barrow ala mansa kunda maybe amantara fenke kan COVID-19 be jamobe ba fola ay dulal be batandila ay sector be batandila sector mantara takang anyama banko kanjam bari bi fango ba mayla mansa kunda mansa fango dala ba moyla abi abe mem fola mole economy la side, health la side, education la side, tourism la side ngalone it has been dormant over the past months, but say ba moyla le afango dala nying COVID-19 pandemic ay tourism la health tourism sector fango aya batandi nyame. So wala nabi ambe wale batu kanjambi mo jabale be jang Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia Dr. Aissatou Touré wo natale amamme Minister dol fanambe ja National Assembly members itol bebe sidi neka President obatu pour ayena idea mu mole.
Can we have that in full briefly, please?
Musidɓe fulɓe hande minen ɗo National Assembly Chambers Banjul hande noon ko woni ɗo ko ɗum waɗi President Adama Barrow mo foti arde ɗo pour halda he yimɓeɓe he ko kanko laamu makko ko hoɗum ɓe goni ko golle hoɗum ɓe goni kadi ko tampere hoɗum laamu makko hemno he pass legislative year kadi Adama Barrow nak last year nde o arnoɗo hitande yawtude nde o wino yimɓe ɓene yimɓe économie Gambia o hombo foti jippade no bete from 6% to 2%. So this year hombo foti arde kadi o halna yimɓe ɓe ma ɗum na économie yimɓe o na jippino bete walla hombo ƴeŋi seeɗa joni ko ɗum waɗi yimɓe na ɗo jooɗi hande pour anda ɗum kadi wona économie o tan fanna jangde nde kadi hombo foti ɗon halnude yimɓe ɓe jangde nde ko hoɗum ɓe mbaɗi kadi ko hoɗum heɓi he kulle jangde he kadi he kulle tourisme ko ɗum waɗi tubakoɓe aroɓe ɓe ɗo tourisme sector aada he cosaan ɗum ɗon fof ko wallum tourisme sector kadi hombo halna yimɓe ɓe wallum agriculture ko ɗum waɗi demal ngal hoɗum laamu Gambia waɗi he gulle ɗum addi joni o waktu ɗo yimɓe koye demal goni kadi yimɓe hewɓe na mbiya kalis ala kadi ɓe keɓani fertilizer ɓe keɓani maño ɓe keɓani engrais pour wawa wadde golle maɓɓe ɗe joni Adama Barrow halna yimɓe ɓe hande engrais ko jelu government makko akki fama ko ɗum remoɓe ɓe kadi haala hewno because hewɓe ne mbiyanno engrais o heewi ko heewi he makko ƴettama nawama he leyɗeɗe janane joni Adama Barrow hande halnat yimɓe ɓe ko laamu makko ko engrais ko hono fonni hono tolni ko akki remoɓe ɓe wona ɗon tan kadi o halnat yimɓe ɓe he wallum security o ko ɗum waɗi walum soldareɓe ɓe walum polisaɓe ɓe kadi ko golle hoɗum ɓe gonno mais he gandi koye covid-19 pandemic gonɗen te o waktu ɗo dulaji ɗi fo na wiyani na jooɗi walla waɗani hay hunde kono na waɗi affect secteur ji ɗi fo so Adama Barrow hande o arat o halna yimɓeɓe ko hoɗum he hoɗum government makko o golle hoɗum ɓe mbaɗi kañum tampere hone government makko o no woni na waɗa fees o waktu ɗo Binta Diallo.
Viewers, you're reminded that you're watching iAfrica TV. Of course, this is your favorite channel. Of course, iAfrica is always here to give you all the latest and the happenings in the Gambia and beyond. We are expecting the president from anytime soon to come and address the nation. Of course, part of the address that we are expecting him to, part of the topics that we are expecting him to dilate on is on the economic policies and also on agriculture and health, tourism, among others. And of course, we are also expecting to dilate on the policies on the recovery of the COVID-19, which has hampered the economy of the country seriously. Ñang yan doon wax loo xamante ne dafa important trop dama laa bàyyi rek yow tamit nga continuer.
waaw Binta jërëjëf comme li ñoo yokk si wax bi rek mooy ne tey président bi kàddu yu mu ñëw gaaral ko mooy address the nation dina ute ak pour la CA bi tey ñi expect ne dina saf December 4 because address the nation la bu nga xam ne ni dafa jàkkaarloo ak élection dañ see jógee rek ay weer rek ñi daal di dem si campagne so loolu moo tax ñu expect ne tey address nation bu nga xam ne nii dinañ ko poobar dinañ ko jimboo waaye sax si boobaa nag député yi ñoom ñooy seet lu nekk si biir parce que dafa nekk address de nation bu nga xam ne nii comme ni ma ko waxee dina saf December 4 dina saf campagne dina ëmbaale li nga xam ne nii pour askan bi tam gën a bàyyi xel si ki nga xam ne mooy président Barrow ne ndekete yow kii day am na lu nekk di def si réew mi moo tax ma ne la tey fépp fu nga xam ne teg nañ fa bloc lépp lu nga xam ne def na ko si biir réew mi dina ko fi gaaral pour lu yu jox nit ñi yóbbal boobu pour ñu waajal li nga xam ne mooy December 4 dina si saf parce que nag luñ jublu nii mbir la mu nga xam ne nii ni askan bi sax mun neen ñaaw njort ne sax mbaadu lii sax bokk na si li gën a tax ren mu indiwaat donte le noonu la ko daan di defee daf ko dee xaar be li si last weer bi mu doon ko ñëw waaye ren interest bi si askan bi seet mooy ne dafa jege ak campagne bi dafa jege ak li nga xam ne mooy élection bi moo tax ñu foog ne adresse nation bi dina nekk wax ji nga xam ne dina saf sàpp politique waaye dara du réer nit ñi si li nga xam ne ni président Barrow def na ko si réew mi ak lu moo wàññi defal si dina nekk lu nga xam ne lu am solo li si des mooy lim def loolu nit ñi gis teg nañ si seen bët waaye li nga xam ne ni li si laxasu tam nit ñi teg nañ si seen bët li nga xam ne la moo dig nit ñi dinañ ko bàyyi xel ndax gars yi ñu ne bët bi yéen waaye xam na lu bopp attan te xam na ne ay dëggee dina fi nekk ban yéene la am pour next fu moo yóbbu Gambia ban yéene la am pour projet yi nga xam ne àggale na ko ban yéene la am si mbay mi yokk ko si wàllu wér-gu-yaram bi parce que Gambia mbiri wér-gu-yaram dafa xaw a doy waar trop te feebar yu bëri ni su ma fa amee dinañ ko yóbbu bitim réew te bitim réew googu ay réew la ay doom leen am jàngaloo leen ñu mun lu ñoo def waaye bon beneen taxawaay la pour nguuri Gambie tam jublu si mbiri li nga xam ne mooy paj mi lan la si président Barrow def ak lan la si yéene pour def si indee kàddum am nañ yaakaar ne dina indi lu mel noonu si mbay mi si mbiri électricité comme ni ñu ko waxee because am réew mi léegi fu mu toll nii su électricité bi doxut nu war a doxee dina wàññi li nga xam ne mooy économie réew mi ban plan la si am ak li si def si at bi ak fan la ko jëmale loolu dina ko gaaral te dinañ xam su boobaa lan la si jublu ak lan fan leen si toll soo bokk na si ponk yu bëri Binta ñu ngi koo xaar président bi ak si mbiri paj mi comme wala mbiri yoon yi boobu moo xam naa ne mu ngi si because si biir si dëkk bi si kaw si provinces bi nekk na dafa tabax yoon yi am solo yoo xam ne ni tegoon na xeer yi te loolu nit ñi dinañ ko bàyyi xel bu baax dina si ñëw xam ne si mbiri li nga xam ne tam mooy briché yooyu noonu xam naa ne loolu tam dina si agsi wax naa la ne tey adresse nation bii dina utee ak bu daaw bi bu baax a baax waaw so loolu.
Jërëjëf. Okay, so Julte, I'm coming back to you. Of recent, in the aspect of energy, we've seen the on and off of light, and a lot of people are affected by this. What's your take on this? What do you think about this?
Yeah, on social media, wherever you go, people from all walks of life have been complaining of this, the electricity and of course water supply, in with what is happening in this country. But most of the times,
Are we expecting the president to dilate on this?
Of course, he will dilate on that. Like I said at the beginning, the president is supposed to dilate on all the sectors of this government, and tell us actually what are some of the achievements, some of the challenges, and policies that the president will have in the coming years. So it's not only about what the current situation, but the future situation as well. So it is important for the president to tell us what they really have with regards to the electricity aspect, the water aspect, and all that. People are anticipating to hear from the president, because a lot of things have been said about the issue of electricity, the issue of water, and of course here and there, NAWEC will come and issue a statement and tell us that it's about the windstorm, it's about natural disaster. So it is beyond their control. So, but the President of the Republic of the Gambia, we are expecting that today he will tell us some of the government plans and policies that they have in place in order to tackle this issue of electricity and water in the country.
So yeah, these are things that we are expecting for the president to dilate on today. Of course, a lot of people are talking about this, and other projects which they are on the way. Of course, we have seen so many projects that he has launched, and we are expecting him to tell us more about those projects and which state the projects are. Of course, gis nañ lu bari loo xamante ne président bi bu mu doon dem daf dee wax ne Monday man may nit ñi ñoo ma seetal loo xamante ne loolu laa def te mu ne December 4th election bi tamit dafa demee comme nit ñi si boppam ñooy xool lu mu def pour wax ndax yow foog nga ne tey président bi dina wax réew mi loo xamante ne lu bëri si loo xamante ne def na ko si biir réew mi fii.
waaw loolu président bi am na lu moo ñëw wax si biir réew mi because wax naa la si mbiri yoon président bi am na si jéego yu am solo si biir réew mi fii def na ko fii parce que yoon yu bëree bëri teg na leen yu si bëri right now ñu ngi si projet bi mu ngee dem so si mbiri bridge so président bi lu mu fi def si loolu benn président bi fi jaar dafa ko si so yooyu dina si ñëw bu baax parce que yooyu pour mu wax ko dana ko ne parce que dafa si am risol bu baax a baax lu mu si def loolu moom nit ñi réeróowul ko mbir waaye te dem ñu ngi koy xaar si mbiri suñ géej bi nga xam ne coow lu bëri na parce que Gambien si mënuñoo lekk jën yi frais mënuñoo lekk jën bu weex dafa seer parce que ñu seen loxo jot seen gannaaw mënuñ koo lekk te ñi ñaa ngi coow ne dañ jaay géej gi ay nit expect neen yan solution wala yan pexe la am si géej gi li passé ak lii ñëw naka la si Gambien si di yégee seen bopp si mbiri géej bi loolu dinañ si xaar ki nga xam ne mooy njiiti réew bu baax a baax.
This is the silence. You're hearing the silence of the President of the Republic of the Gambia. Of course, he's expected to come here and, of course, address the nation anytime soon. Part of the address, of course, we've said what we're expecting for him to address on is his policies, things like agriculture, things like the health sector, and of course the tourism sector and other sectors, of course, all inclusive. This is the silence of the president. Of course, we've seen, his car is, of course, just arriving, of course, inside the National Assembly, and we believe anytime soon he will take his place and, of course, address the nation. This has been anticipated by all citizens. Everybody, like Julden Barrow said, is expecting the president to talk about these things that we've, of course, mentioned above. Yes, that's the president's arrival. Of course, you can see. So we are seeing the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Clerk of the National Assembly, and followed by the CDS, of course, right there, and other side is Chief receiving the President of the country, and that's him right there, as you can see on the screen. Of course, now there's no shaking of hands, but of course, showing respect, and these are the ways now, because of the pandemic, we shake our hands, of course. Okay, this is the President of the Republic of the Gambia just arriving at the National Assembly, And of course, like I said earlier, we are expecting him to address the nation. Young president bi egsi.
waaw mu ngi noonu ak xafaanam bu weex ak koppete bu weex dugg si na noonu la ko gars yi daan waxee bu président Jawara daan ñëw ak Jammeh kii itam président Barrow la dugg si na mu ngi noonu léegi tey ñu rekkal ko bàkki réew mi taxaw na si fu nga xam ne wala taxaw ñu ko war a waajal pour tëggal ko li nga xam ne mooy bàkki réew mi ànd na ak kilifa yi jiitu leen ko fii.
That was the national anthem of the country, the Gambia, where we are right now is the National Assembly, where we have just seen the arrival. Where we have seen the arrival of the president, and now the president is going on an inspection of honor. Of course, we've seen guard of honor. Of course, we've seen a lineup of officers waiting for him to do the inspection. Sorry. Of course, that's what he is doing right now, as you can see him. Young President Barrow.
ànd ak ñi nga xam ne ñooy soldats yi ñi lalal ko tappe bu xonq bi wala red carpet bi mu ngi see doxantu ndànk di jaayu nag boole ko bisiki soldats yi lii nag bu si président àggee dina am lu muy yëg li muy yëg war na see bokk ne askan bi ñoo ma teg fii war naa jubli si seen soxla war naa jubli si seen bëgg-bëgg war naa lépp luñ def luñ bëgg ma defal leen ko because loolu leen indee président si boppi réew tey bu mu accès ñëpp a taxaw ñu tekkal ko bàkk réew mi mu daal di nemmeeku léegi nii ñi nga xam ne ñooy takk der mu ngi noonu di leen màggal di leen sujjootal loolu lu am solo la doxal si li nga xam ne mooy red carpet bi ta lii dafa am solo lii mooy mandat lii yëpp pour darajaal ki nga xam ne mooy njiiti réew moo tax fii nag bu fi njiiti réew accès bàyyi fa xel mi dina am ci lu mu dem xel mi si lu muy dem war na bokk si di xalaat askan bi parce que lii yëpp askan bi ñoo ko fa teg waaye pour mu am lu mu leen defal la waaye du pour ne moo fi gën loolu du dee boo ko gisee noonu dafa doy waar waaye lii dina yóbbu président muy xalaat man nag am na lu ma war am na lu ma war a def askan bi ñoo ma dénk lii yëpp cër bu rëy bi askan jox la ko kon ci seen soxla danga fi ñëw pour di leen fajal seen soxla di jàpp si li nga xam ne nii mooy jëm kanami réew mi te xam naa ne dina gën a nàmm xelam si bu demee tey jàkkaarloo li nga xam ne mooy askan bi di leen wax mébétam li nga xam ne def na ko fi ak lu mu bëgg a def ëllëg loolu yëpp dina war a xam ne ndéeg jëriñi réew mi ndéeg loolu la askan bi di aar si moom kon fi mu nekk ni lu mu nekk di def lu am solo lu am yëg-yëg la tam. dafa mel ni loolu guru la de li moom cosaan la. mu ngi ànd noonu ak ki nga xam ne mooy jiite National Assembly di pencum ndaw réew mi mu ngi nuyu député yi ñi nga xam ne ñoo togal gox yi ak gox-goxaat yi fii si penc réew mi di leen nuyu benn ak benn ñu ngi noonu takk li nga xam ne mooy raaye réew mi di nuyuwante ak ki nga xam ne mooy excellence président Adama Barrow gis nga ko noonu député moom tam lu am solo si réew la parce que lépp lu mu fi wax ñoom ñoo koy jàngat natt ko saytu ko bay nangutoo si ne nangam nañ koy bàyyee nangam lañ koo jagleel pour mu def ko kon ñoom itam seen taxawaay cër bu rëy leen am si réew mi lii nga xam ne mooy député yi ba léegi yéen a gis président bi noonu mu ngi nuyu ak député yi ba léegi am na ñu mooy xam ne wante ñoo xam ne ni ay wóllëre lam den démb waaye gisee bi du yomb di ñàkk si biir nuyoo bi moo tax du gaaw gis nga fi mu nekk nii fokk mu saafu wante ak ñoom am na si ñu nga xam ne ni ay nitam leen doon démb so loolu yëpp daf si am solo te fii la mën a lay gisee ñu bari oto président Binta suy nuyu rek dina am ñu nga xam ne bu leen gisee dina leen fàttali lu bari démb parce que boo xasee toog si ba xaamat président jot moo la tut may sa niti démb yi nga xam ne dafa yomb trop moo tax da ngaa dégg ñu ñoo doon ànd def li waaye leebul fi mu nekk mooy tax dootul la mën a gis yow ñun tolloo leebul boobu lay fi wax ñu ko du support
président bi fu mu nekk nii mu ngi nuyu National Assembly ñoo xamante ne bokkoon nañ si ñoo xamante ne dañ koo support ñoo xamante ne supportuñ ko mu ngi nuyoo ñëpp daal yow lii am na solo de.
am na solo lii rek moo am solo akumayata bakele Binta because bi yimɓe tembo men ta jang amanke politique kuwoti ñimmu Gambia kuwolti wala na whether ite yo support ite mo Adama Barrow la supportalti wala manke Adama Barrow la supportalti woman kumaya jambi because bi jammu banku kuwolti bi mu Gambia kuwolti wala na mobe abe mobe le kontonna mais momo ya support momo ma support bi woman kumaya jang bi anyantale anatale pour ka diamu mole ka fo mole ko atela government ye mum policies le soto ye mum programmes le soto atela government ka bring sanjo men tambita atala government e mum plans le soto mole in the area of education e munekeje in the area of health e munekeje in the area of agriculture e munekeje sa anata wala fola mole nyindongo bi ko o mu Gambia no bele tam amanke NPP la kuwoti nyimu Gambia no le kuwolti so among important whether be Adama Barrow Bejang as an NPP leader men kum mayata be Adama Barrow Bejang as the president of the Republic of the Gambia bari amanke NPP la nyaton kote wala na kum mayata bake
kun ka moyle fan wato be president ko kala kala ko Gambia even support kangi man support wo albe mun na dimba yale
no ala dimba yale wala na kum mayata bake comme politiko la wato man sifolo samba be futala nang because sambi campaign be datila bari politique wato man sifolo wala na nim politiko nata o wato le momo katara partido to bari o fango matina amanke mobe la dimbayati mobe la dimbayale Adama Baroti bari sayembe tembo men tajang amanke politique woti bibe Gambia to be Gambia le be nyato be Gambia le je kantol be wala na akumma yata bake pour nga Gambia kuwo fo nga Gambia kuwoje membe Gambia sambala nyato bi nyanta wala fola mude mun tolla batada kuwoti ngofo be solution o nati la nyame ngafo so wala na bi bengo akumaya tabake Binta.
Thank you very much, Julde. We've seen okay, that's a photo session with the National Assembly members and of course with the president. This is beautiful. Of course, Gambia is one, and we always say Gambia is one. We are all the same people. We are all from the same mothers and fathers, and folk and Gotung. So there is no Mandinka, no Wolof, no Sarakule, no Fula. We are all the same. Of course, we've seen that, and this is really beautiful. We can see National Assembly is full of people and important dignitaries. Of course, we've seen ministers seated right in the National Assembly waiting for the president's speech. As we can see, the president is still escorted by the National Assembly members, and of course is headed by, of course, the flag and yes. So the president is right now going inside the National Assembly, escorted by the Speaker and the clerk. Yes, and some of the National Assembly, these are National Assembly staff right there we are seeing. He's waving them while he's going inside. Yeah, this is really beautiful. Moo tax lii dafa am solo torop because dañ dee faral di dégg toujours président bi di wax ne man nga supportuloo ma suma njaboot nga suma dama leen ëmb yéen yëpp uuf leen yéen yëpp lii dafa am solo torop.
fii buñ fi accès yëfi couleur yi parti dafa dem couleur raaya réew mi rek mooy feeñ mbiri réew mi rek moo fay feeñ parce que réew mbir am na député yu lay wante yoo xam ne bokkuñ si parti waaye loolu du fi am tey gis nga nu ko National Assembly staff bi doon ko teeroo di nga tey ki nga xam ne mooy jiiti National Assembly bi di speaker bi ak député bi yëpp ñoo ko teeru tey moom moo am gan moo tax tey moo ko doon introduce ak ñëpp moo loolu moo tax tey mu jiital ko moo koy anta moom ba si toogu bi mu daal di dalal ko waaw nekk na li nga xam ne lu am solo la waaw.
sanse yi moom métti na daal sanse yi rafet na waaye gis nañ tamit ñu ngi am Gambia flag bi ñu ngi ko def si seen boori mbaga yi lii moo nekk foog naa first time pour ñu gis lii de si national assembly bi fii
dafa war a saf Gambia dafa war a nuru Gambia tey bis la boo xam ne réew mi ñoo ko moom soo ñu nga xam ne ni ñoo nekk si pencu ndaw réew mi député yi loolu la waaw li tam dégg léegi député yi ñu nekk ci nga xam ne ñooy député yi tey mandarga bu ñu wane lu am solo la parce que lii wane na ñëpp dañ fi nekk pour réew mi ñëpp dañ fi nekk pour gis ne jëm kanam réew mi ñëpp dañ fi nekk pour gis ne seen soxla yëpp mooy lu soxor réew mi mooy li nga xam ne luy yóbbu réew mi si kanam la moo tax tey ñoom ñëpp ñu niróole ko daal di jël li nga xam ne mooy raaya réew mi gàccoo ko si seen mbagg yi muy lu am solo loo xam ne yeneen réew yi ñu jege dañ ko fa dee gis waaye nag tey moom mun neen wax ne lu mu fi amee guleet ñi gis fi National Assembly ñoom ñu asubee ko nii ñoom ñëpp sol raaya réew mi loolu nekk na lu nga xam ne lu rafet la am na lu muy wane ne réew mi ñu ñëpp dañ war a nekk benn ñu ñëpp ñoo ko moom bu time mi politique jotee ñu dem politique bu time mi taxaw réew mi jotee responsabilité ku nekk la nga ñëw taxaw réew mi rawatina ñi nga xam ne dañ dem laajte baat si askan bi ñu jox leen ko ñu ñëw dañ war a taxaw réew mi di taxaw njëriñu réew mi gis réew mi gis Gambia loolu nekk na lu nga am na am solo lii nag exemple la si waaye bu mu em si mbuba bi rek bu mu ne buñ génnee lu nga xam ne mooy raaya réew mi rek lii wala flag bi mu jeex non leen jiital réew mi gos mooy lépp réew mi gën a rëy ku ne te ku ne da nga ñëw fekk fi réew bi te da ngaa dem bàyyi fi réew mi kon ku si am cër rek doxalal jiitalal njëriñu réew bi na nekk lu nga xam ne lu am solo la luñ gis lu rafet la nañ ko bu baax.
No, what is it?
ko ɗum woni ne hannde ko hukkulle Gambia woni ɗo hannde yimɓe ɓen fof wona yiyaali hay parti goto hay sa ndaari sa guɗe ɗe ɓe ɓorni ɗe ɓe fof fayde ko dane ɓe ɓorniɓe ko wona dane ɓe sa heewani ko ɗum hollatamane hannde ko ñalande Gambia ko ɗum waɗi ɗum fotani ɗo hadde tan hannde na foti wadde ñande fof ñande pour so en golla ñande fof ñande so en golloya ƴetten flag o mbaɗen ɓe he meɗen kolliren ne ko Gambia daranimi wona pati daranimi ko Gambia gollananmi wona pati gollananmi ko ɗum waɗi hannde ɗum ɗo na weeli yiide gonga comme no mbirirɗani ko hannde woni ñalande fof gandanta yimɓe National Assembly members ɓe ɗo puti flag ɓe mbaɗi flag Gambia o he dow maɓɓe hollirde ne ɓe beltani kulle Gambia ɓe holliri ne kamɓe koɓe Gambiyan ɓe tene ɓe beltani koɓe goni Gambiyan ɓe ɗum noon hannde fotani hadde hannde tan because ɗum sa yi hannde Binta ɗum ko signal mawɗo hannde holliri sa yi hannde Gambia o na hewɓe na mbiya Gambia o na waɗi divide woɓɓe ne mbiya komi ceɗɗo woɓɓe ne wiya komi pullo woɓɓe ne mbiya komi joola komi ɗum so Gambia o na waɗi divide hannde kala ɗo jaaɗa ko ɗum yimɓe ɓe kollirta kono hannde ɓe national ɓe député ɓe hannde ɓe kollirane min wona mi jeyaka hay parti goto mi jeyaka hay dula leñol gotol min hannde komi Gambian ɗum ɗon nawoli tene na woni signal mawɗo mi anda yimɓe sona gandi signal o noon kono ko signal mawɗo ɓe kolliri ɗo ɓe kolliri ne kala ko yimɓe mbatta rek yo yimɓe mbat consider Gambia wota yimɓe ndar hunde wonde kulle parti walla interest walla oɗo ko leñol oɗo ko jolfo oɗo ko ceddo wota yimɓe ndar ɗum yimɓe yo ndar Gambia hunde kala ko yimɓe mbatta yimɓe ndar Gambia ɗum ɗon na welinande hande sa yi sa hay ko ɓe ɓorni ko sana hollirine hande wona kulle pati wonɗo bot ko gulle Gambia wonɗo ɗum ɗon na weli teneɓe sikkuɓe poti ɗum kontinde Binta
yen naten e ceɗɗe ɗen seeɗa rek haalna yimɓe ceɗɗe ɓen kadi ɗum ɗo ko honɗum waɗi firi ɗum no heeɓi solo comme nafo ñamindoro ñing a kummayata bakela kujama ley tandi janga ɓe ɗaminten tin comme Gambia mo kilinnete comme mi ɓa fo kan ñamin Gambia mo dulalti mi yalon ko banque kayrolem andu mandin kat kuuditiye fula kuutije surwa kuutije ɓe mo kilinnete comme julde ɓa fo kan ñamindoro
ha abe mukilinete Binta ñing ko mayata bakele bake bi because ni National Assembly member sol fango je député ol jambi ila dendi ko kaye Gambia flako le keje so waya ku jamale itandi ka itandi le ko abi amanke parti kuoti membe wala be jang abi amanke president kuoti amanke parti nyaton kuoti bi wala be jang bari membe jambi wala Gambia te ye Gambia leje andu Gambia wala mukuti membe yalla ko mol nyanta ka wala je even na do ko to na everyday do ko to nyanta ka wala je wala nabi ñing signalo important bakale hani ya jibe fan galla e fengol men dum fa mo dantande fengol dum men manke white bari be white le dum yela Gambia flako la kan so akuma ya tabakele ñi ye ku jamale hitande ka hitandi ko Gambia len fosti nimbe mobe nimolbe fengo fenke ka nga Gambia londi ñaato da janning anything else andu ñin tay mo yake damin to akuma ya tabake say because say be damin to dem politiko e ku wolti ñaale bi sa ye ku politiko tale ya dundi molla ye politiko ya tinale sa momo ba fola okay ka politiko ke siyole la ni mu mandinkolti ni mu fulolti ni mu jolaleti andu ni di mobe diya mola fan hani molla banku nyaaton ko ya fan hani molla banku do ko fan ni mbaka nka siyole dundi je bari nyi ndonga ya itandi ko bi député wol ka fo mole ko bi amanku maya binte man na parti je binte man na parti nyaaton ko je binte Gambia leje andu ko maya tabakele nyanta kanyi maintain nyanta kanyi samba nyaato le nyanta kanyi encourage le because Gambia nga wala soto Gambia da mambe wala do kunola in most cases mo jama ka fo comme ñing francophone country wala kanyi jamal kela flako ta ka kebala bari amanke bi anglophone bari bi nga jele Gambia yake wo mu
Gambia is a part of anglophone
exactly and say bi Gambia yake so wo mu kuma balti nyanta ka continue na do ku dula be ku wolke ka nyame be diamu ka nyoy nyame comme nga itandi nyoy kon te mu banku dingolti andum I am a proud Gambian amanke comme te be nyim parti leto te be janne wala te mu nyin siolti wala mu nyin siolti wote Gambia sambala nyato Binta
abarka bake Julde, thank you very much. You are reminded that you're watching iAfrica TV, and of course we are here at the National Assembly, and of course, like I said, you know, all my colleagues are with me here, Julde Barrow and Modi Nyang, of course, all of them are here. A lot of people had been anticipating this State of Nation address by the President, and of course we are expecting him, like I said before, to talk on the challenges on the economy and his policies, and also in fact all sectors that we are talking about. Of course he's going to talk about those. We have so many sectors, of course, and so many ministries, and he is going to dilate on all of these sectors, of course what they have done so far. And of course, ñang gis nañ ne affaire youth and sports si affaire yi lefin bi expect nañ ne président bi tamit dina wax foofu noonu lu bari de parce que ñu ngi war a bokk si qualify lefin bi comme nekk nii
loolu yooyu moom du luy tardé inchaallah dinañ si président bi dina si ñëw because guleet Gambia bokk si li nga xam ne mooy jogante Africa Cup of Nations bi so loolu président bi du ñemoo jàkkaarle ak askan bi te boolewu ko si dina ñëw waaye li fa ministre bi moo yore mbiri ndaw ñi ak tàggat yaram Gambia qualified président bi dinañ ko séntu si wax lu am solo loo xam ne dina ko xorom dina ko jimboo wante tam nag lu des si yuut si nag dafa bari ministre bi du football bi rek ndaw ñi seen xëy ëllëg fan la si président bi lan la si ndaw ñi di aar ndaw ñaa ngi toog ko wax na leen ne li gën a bari si réew mi ndaw ñi la soo ndaw ñooñu tey den yaakaar xëy ëllëg lan la leen président bi amal ëllëg li passé gis nañ ko parce que ndaw ñi pour ñu am xëy loolu dafa des si réew mi naka la ñuy créer liggéey bu nga xam ne ndaw réew mi dinañ ko am dañ si xaar président bi lan la amal ndaw ñi si loolu bokk na si li nga xam ne dinañ ko aaree président bi te it's a very important point ndaw ñi suñ amul liggéey dinañ def naka su dul noonu suñ amul liggéey dinañ dugg si géej gi suñ amul liggéey dinañ taxaw si mbedd mi ba léegi loolu bëri na fi Johnson yu bëri bu timis jotee ñi moom faa jaar loolu moo tax président bi ndaw ñi dinañ ko xaar lan la leen a dig lan la leen amal si programme am buy ñëw next so loolu nekk na lu nga xam ne lu am solo te bëgg neen gis nag lu na wéng lu tege lu important promise yi nga xam ne yu tooy xep la ndaw ñi dinañ ko xaar bëgg nañ ko gis président bi.
waaye gis nañ si wàlli lifin football bi si boppam gis nañ ñu ne captain yi teams Gambia yoo xamante ne ñoo qualifié si of course cup of qualifiers moom génn na sax mu ne of course gars yi xaalis bu ñu nam promise woon gisuñ ko loolu fooguloo ne jar naa adresse tamit.
non xam naa ne yooyu moom leneen la dina gars yi dinañ si ñëw waaye gis nga sax recently ñu ngi woon si international break Gambie amuñ benn test match bu nga xam ne am nañ ko waaye lu government lay mooy amul xaalis so loolu tam
te cancel nañ tamit foo xamante ne foofu lañ waroon a dem training.
waaw
yooyu yëpp cancel nañ ko.
so loolu yëpp war nañ xaar président bi ñëw si
ndax ne yow président bi am na lu moo wax si loolu lu bari parce que dafa mel ni daal su nekkee lii yëpp stories yoo xamante ne yooyu lañ nekk di dégg si affaire yi fànnam football bi demee wut noonu
waaw loolu moom mu ngi si julde moo tax ndaw yaa ngi ne jomb di ko toog di xaar lan la ma wax si loolu parce que nag wax dëgg yàlla réew mi tollootul fu ñu waxee ne den bu ko def lii ñu ne amuñ xaalisam war nañ koo mën a préparer bu baax a baax parce que li nga xam ne ni mu fay génn si réew mi loolu dañ ko war a def si biir réew mi moo tax gis nga nu ko waxee ko waaw mbiri waaw kii nga dem si géej bi yooyu noonu yëpp lu gën a tax mu bëri ndaw ñi lu gën a tax loolu mu bëri mooy ne comme ni ñu ko waxee si gannaaw ndaw ñi seen xëy dafa war a nekk lu itteel nguur gi lan la si nguur gi am dina ko wax ndax nag loolu su ko waxee ba pare si leen a door a xam ndax loolu dina doy ak ban yan pexe leen amal ndaw ñi pour ñu am fu ñuy xëy ëllëg parce que it's very important.
suñu waxtaan affaire yi pexe gis nañ migration of course bari na si dëkk bi lool te bu yàggut nii sax am na ay ndaw ñoo xamante ne téye woon nañ leen ñoo xamante ne ñu ngi dem through backway journey bi yow si sa xalaat foog nga ne président bi war naa adresse lii tamit.
of ko war naa adresse loolu parce que li problème bi mooy ne ndaw ñi soo waxee ñu ne war amuñu xëy loolu la ndaw ñi di wax ñi si bëri amuñ xëy léegi nag lan la leen président bi amal waaw.
So those are live images of the president. That's the president of the Republic of the Gambia arriving inside the National Assembly chambers, and he is taking his seat now. Anytime from now, he is expected to address the nation, like we said, and that's the Speaker of the National Assembly. So we are going live now inside and of course bring you happenings from the National Assembly.
Has appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and just government of men. We beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this land. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this house assembled. Grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, to promote thy honor and glory, to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. Amen. Please can be seated, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Communication from the chair.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Mr. Adama Barrow. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia. My Lord, the Chief Justice of the Gambia and Justices of the Superior Courts. Honorable members of this August Assembly, honorable ministers herein present, Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of the Republic of the Gambia, honorable former speakers of the National Assembly, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, service chiefs, the Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, senior government officials here in present, regional chief executive officers here in present, traditional leaders, venerable religious leaders, distinguished invited guests, the press, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning to you all and welcome to the National Assembly. Honorable members, in accordance with Section 77(1) of the 1997 Constitution, His Excellency, Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, is here today to attend a sitting of this August Assembly and address the current session on the condition of the Gambia, the policies of the government, and the administration of the state. Therefore, on behalf of both sides of the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, I welcome warmly His Excellency to the National Assembly. Honorable members, the State of the Nation Address, commonly known as Sona, is a significant event in our parliamentary calendar, as it is an occasion when the Chief Executive of the state will have direct interaction with the legislature on government's policies and the administration of the state, as well as update the legislature of its legislative agenda. Honorable members, this year will be the 5th State of the Nation address of the President to this August Assembly since he assumed the presidency. And on that note, once more, I wish to welcome His Excellency, the President, to the National Assembly in fulfillment of his constitutional obligations. Your Excellency, thank you very much. And Clerk, can we proceed? Thank you.
Motion. State of the Nation address by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia.
Thank you very much. It is my singular honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, to deliver his address to the National Assembly. Thank you, sir.
First of all, before I proceed, I want us to stand up and observe 1 minute silence for the 2 National Assembly members that we lost during the period. Thank you. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for those few words. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Madam Speaker, my Lord, the Chief Justice, Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Honorable Cabinet members, Honorable members of the National Assembly, Lord Mayor of Banjul, venerable religious leaders, service chiefs, senior government officials, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, members of the media, fellow Gambians, ladies and gentlemen. I am most thankful to the Almighty God for the unique privilege and honor of addressing the legislative arm of the Republic of the Gambia on the performance of my administration. While it is a constitutional requirement for me as head of state to perform this function officially, I do so once again with commitment and conviction to the universal ideals of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law as contained in the Constitution of the country. Today, my address focuses mainly on the critical issues and concerns requiring sustained attention for the development of our dear motherland. However, the significant impact of the pandemic on the government's performance will also feature in my deliberation. On other matters of national interest, the teams are informed by the current national discourse, influenced principally by the people's concerns and development aspirations. The address highlights the need to harness the insightful lessons learned so far for consolidation and planning. The key issues embrace policy program and project intervention, legislative matters affecting this august body, and the needs and expectations of the people. More specifically, they border on critical priorities of our national agenda. The significant accomplishments realized during the 2020-2021 legislative year, and the bottlenecks constraining the attainment of the development goals and objectives specified in our National Development Plan 2018-2021. The address covers all sectors, comprising the satellite institutions of the various government ministries in the Gambia. A brief submission on each sector now follows, beginning with the finance and economic affairs sector. Finance and economic affairs. Madam Speaker, economic growth in the Gambia has been impressive since 2017, with real GDP averaging 6% up to 2019. In 2020, growth was projected at 6.5%, but the pandemic outbreak compelled a revised GDP estimate of minus 1.5%. Despite the economic challenges, domestic resource mobilization in 2020 amounted to an incredible performance of $13.4 billion. Of this, $11.8 billion was tax revenue and $1.8 billion non-tax revenue. Although the pandemic has shown that the economy is vulnerable to shocks. The government remains committed to initiating sound economic policy management. Along these lines, Cabinet approved the medium-term economic fiscal framework 2021-2025 for fiscal policy interventions. In an order development, my administration, through support from UNDP, commissioned an evaluation of Vision 2020 to make recommendations for a long-term development plan. The assessment will guide future development strategies. Madam Speaker, we have engaged most of our external creditors for debt deferral for at least 5 years. Most of them have granted us principal repayment deferral, which is estimated to yield $4.8 billion from 2020 to 2024. The savings made will be invested in the economy to create growth. The government also engaged the G20 Debt Service Suspension Initiative, DSSI, and secured relief from ECOWAS Bank for investment and development, Saudi Fund for Development, Creative Fund for Arab Economic Development, and the People's Republic of China. The DSSI provided relief of $287.24 million in debt service payments for the 2020 fiscal year. Turning to debt management policy and medium-term debt strategy 2020-2024 has been designed for an appropriate medium-term financing path anchored on cost and risk management. Generally, revenue collection fell due to the COVID-19 outbreak. However, grants increased significantly. This came mainly in the form of budget support from development partners, especially the European Union, to ease the economic burden of the pandemic on the government. You will recall that the National Assembly approved a supplementary appropriation bill, SAP, of $2.85 billion. The ministry spent most of the funds to contain the coronavirus. These included stimulus packages for vulnerable Gambians, procurement of personal protective equipment, PPEs, allowances to help frontline workers, and support to deserving public enterprises and sectors. The government provided relief support of food items amounting to $850 million to the most vulnerable. An additional $224 million was approved thereafter as part of the SAP. Stimulus packages for students abroad, businesses, and the tourism sector were factored in the SAP and paid out accordingly. Madam Speaker, Cabinet has approved a public-private partnership PPP bill that is being reviewed before presentation to the National Assembly for enactment. It is tied to the PPP policy and guidelines for procurement processes in accordance with international standards. Finally, government will table a capital markets bill for the consideration of the legislature. The proposal is to establish a stock exchange market and a regulatory authority within the central bank. Basic and secondary education, Madam Speaker. The country continues to make impressive gains on enrollment at all levels of the education sector. Gross enrollment rates have improved by 5.2 percentage points at the lower basic level, 2.4% at the upper basic level, and 1.6% at the senior secondary level. Enrollment for early childhood development is above the National Development Plan NDP target of 50.2% and 52.9% by 4% for male and female enrollment, respectively. Through the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, my government is partnering positively with the World Bank, MRC Holland, and other philanthropists to improve access to quality education. Through such partnerships, 2,173 new classrooms have been completed within these 4 years, and the plan is to complete 134 more by end December 2021. From 2017 to date, the sector renovated 1,389 additional classrooms and built 2,505 toilets across the country. 100 more toilets will be completed by December 2021. Since teacher motivation and welfare contribute to better performance, 836 rooms for teacher accommodation have been built countrywide. Hopefully, the number will increase to 1,000, noting that 200 are due for completion by end December 2021. It is encouraging to state that the sector registered substantial improvements on the pass rate for the 2020 Gambia Basic Education Certificate Examination and the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. We commend the sector for this and encourage the teachers to strive harder to motivate its personnel and reward performance. During the year, the sector created new positions in various cadres and effected mass promotions based on merit. Concerning the Zero Out of School Children Endeavor, the ministry is working with Education Above All Foundation in Qatar and the Office of the First Lady to combat the out-of-school phenomenon. Similarly, we continue to put more focus on special needs and inclusive education to attain quality education for all. Higher education, research, science, and technology. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology is pursuing its transformation agenda with vigor. In this regard, the transformation of the Gambia Technical Training Institute, GDTI, into a University of Applied Science and Technology, USET, the upgrading of the Management Development Institute, MDI, into a degree awarding institute, and the integration of Gambia College into the University of the Gambia, UTG, are in progress. In fact, the administrative process has started for the construction works of the new USET structures. Overall, access to higher education for Gambians is increasing rapidly. Currently, there are 1,414 students on scholarship at the University of the Gambia, UTG. We support 600 more students in various tertiary education institutions, and 734 Gambians students are on scholarship abroad. Madam Speaker, the UTG graduated its first batch of doctoral students in public administration through the Nigerian Technical Assistance Program. It has enrolled 2 more cohorts of postgraduate students, one of which is a doctoral degree program in law. I am delighted to report the expected completion of the first 2 lots of the UTG Fraba Banta campus project this year, 2021. However, the sector is working to mobilize the $22 million US dollars funding gap for the remaining construction works. We hope that the Ndemban Skills Center in Fonyi, West Coast region, will begin operations next academic year to train our youth and equip them with relevant livelihood skills. Interior, Madam Speaker, apart from their regular law enforcement core mandate, the Gambia Police Force, GPF, is engaged in infrastructure development, professional advancement, and training. To increase police management and operational capabilities, the formulation of the institutional policies begun in the last quarter of 2020 is progressing steadily. Fittingly also, a code of conduct for the police has been developed and adopted for the anti-crime unit. Furthermore, an arrest and detention procedure manual is in use after its successful development in collaboration with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance. Madam Speaker, the Immigration Department monitors and regulates entry and exit at our border points. Besides issuing relevant identity documents to citizens and residents, despite the pandemic, it is commendable that the department collected $91,980,370 from January to 31st December 2020. On drug control, the National Drug Control Strategy 2019-2023 continues to foster vigilance and action against drug abuse and trafficking. The recent seizures of huge quantities of cocaine and other drugs attest to this. Accordingly, we will continue to support and empowering the agency to perform better and prevent the country from becoming a hub for drug trafficking. Lands, regional governments, and religious affairs. Madam Speaker, in 2020, the Department of Community Development strategically focused on emergency response and recovery. These included capacity building and strengthening their decentralized structures to better address conflicts on land and natural resources, as well as operationalize rent recovery mechanism. The initiatives employed include harnessing positive social norms and the environment. In particular, the sector worked in partnership with the National Nutrition Agency and the Department of Social Welfare to implement the Social Safety Net project. These aside, the 2018-2021 Local Climate Adaptive Living Project, funded by the UNDP, is in progress to reduce poverty through green and resilient climate-smart related interventions. A focus of this project is creating sustainable and equal employment opportunities with attention on the youth and women. The main objective is to enhance their capacity in food processing, handicraft skills, and business enterprise development. Tactically, the project targets the North Bank, Lower River, and Central River regions. I have noted with appreciation that the Department of Community Development is working amicably with the Department of Water Resources and the National Assembly to implement the Climate Smart Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Development Project. Honorable members, land rent collection from hoteliers and other industries dropped due to the COVID-19 lockdown and travel restrictions. Regretfully, therefore, the 2020 revenue performance for this sector stood at $32,913,776. A similar trend is unfolding this year. The impact of COVID-19 was so severe on the regional council that central government had to intervene by providing a salary package for them. To enhance decentralization, the Ministry of Lands, Regional Governments and Religious Affairs is building capacity for ward development committees on planning and budgeting and equipping them with financial management skills and auditing techniques to ease accountability and transparency. This links neatly with the decision of rolling out the IFMIS to area council in order to increase efficiency and effectiveness in fiscal discipline and transparency. The Land and Survey Directorate updated 416 lease files in 2019 and 424 in 2020. We expect a similar trend by the end of 2021. On physical planning and housing, the Kotu Action Area Plan physical survey is 90% complete. The processing of real estate agency applications now takes place at the physical planning headquarters. Similarly, land allocation has reduced drastically with fewer than 5,000 allocations recorded. On legislation, the sector is finalizing the NGO bill for enactment later this year. Fisheries, water resources, and National Assembly matters, Madam Speaker. My administration remains committed to providing access to safe drinking water and releasing timely and accurate weather and climate information. To achieve this, through the support of the African Development Bank, AFDB, the Department of Water Resources will construct and install 1,404 solar-powered pipe water supply systems to provide safe and quality drinking water for additional 400,000 rural residents. With help from the Japanese government, 20 other solar-powered pipe water supply systems will be constructed and installed in 2021 to serve 80,000 persons in rural communities. On legislative matters, government will introduce 2 bills to this August Assembly for a comprehensive water act and to establish a new National Water Resources Management Authority. The National Water Resources Council Act 22 of 1979 is still the main legal instrument for water resource management in the Gambia. Because it is outdated, government is reviewing it and will submit for consideration a bill to establish a meteorological authority. Madam Speaker, the fisheries sector is crucial in diversifying the economy. Thus, it is reviewing its policy and regulatory frameworks to effect sustainable reforms. In the meantime, rehabilitation of the fish ponds in the Jahali layout in Sapu has a production capacity of 10,000 tons of quality fish to mitigate the fish supply deficit in the country. The fish ponds will enhance food and nutritional security in rural communities. Trade, industry, regional integration and employment, Madam Speaker. Despite the constraint posed by the pandemic, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment registered significant progress on its priority programs. Key among them is the development of a new medium-term plan 2021 to 2025. The ministry also reviewed and updated the 2007 Labour Act to align it with ILO standards and international best practices. It will submit the bill to the National Assembly for consideration. To strengthen labour administration, the sector equally revised and updated the Injuries Compensation and Factories Act and will submit it to this Assembly. Madam Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to implement the revised Labour Acts, the Ministry of Trade has established an Employment Service Center at the Department of Labour. This is to facilitate linkages between job seekers and employers. The new 5 years sector strategy plan will help to make the center effective. To promote exports and investment, the ministry, through GAIPA, successfully developed a new national export strategy, 2021-2025. The strategy outlines key priority areas such as agribusiness, fashion, tourism, and fisheries for the Gambia to realize its export development aspirations. In addition, the sector through GAIPA issued 18 special investment certificates, SICs, in 2020. These had a combined investment portfolio of $93,615,493 US and a combined employment capacity of 824 staff members, of which 279 are women. Under the Sea Trades project reported last year, 12 sea trades companies benefited from mini grants, receiving combined support of $2.7 million. In order to strengthen trade cooperation and promotion, the sector produced during the year under review an AFCFTA national implementation strategy to implement the AFCFTA protocol in the country. They also formulated a national regional integration policy and strategy 2020-2025. The two documents focus primarily on production and business expansion for Gambian enterprises. Information and communication technology. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the need for increased ICT-driven solutions, so much so that the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology has prioritized the rollout of a national technology hub this year. To strengthen cybersecurity and protect the Gambia's cyberspace, Ministry of Information took the initiative to formulate the cyber crime and data protection and privacy bills. The ministry will table both before this August Assembly once they are finalized. Their enactment will equip the Gambia with the requisite laws to fight cybercrime-related offenses. Madam Speaker, in order to maintain a conducive environment for the media, the government accelerated regulatory and policy reforms over the past year. I am glad that the Access to Information Bill 2019 has now been enacted into law. We also look forward to the enactment of the ICT Act Amendment Bill 2020 by this August Assembly. In addition, in 2019, the government tabled the Criminal Code Amendment Bill before this August body. The objective is to repeal all the draconian media laws that my government inherited. Madam Speaker, it is delightful to announce that the combined effort to enhance the work of the media and respect media freedoms have earned the Gambia a continuous favorable rating during these 4 years. The 2021 Global Press Freedom Ranking of the Gambia, for example, has improved from 9th position in West Africa to 10th in the Sub-Saharan Africa. With the new reforms and the increase in the number of media houses in the country, which now stand at 40 radio stations, 6 television stations, and numerous online outlets, it is evident that the Gambia is in the right direction concerning media freedoms. Petroleum and energy, Madam Speaker. The drilling component of FAR Petronas is now scheduled for 2021. On the other hand, BP announced a significant policy shift of reducing their exploration activities worldwide. My government has reached a settlement with them for their work plan commitments in Block A. Based on this, $30.25 million has been paid to the government as compensation for not fulfilling their obligation to drill a well as per the licensing agreement. BP is expected also to settle the outstanding rental fees and contributions to the Training and Resource Fund. With these settlements from BP, the Block A1 is back on the market for licensing to interested investors. Madam Speaker, despite the COVID-19 outbreak, the electricity subsector registered tremendous improvements on production capacity. The power rental agreement with Car Power and the completion of the 11 megawatts Kotu expansion project have remarkably boosted NAWEC's ability to operate. Thus, they are now able to meet the peak load demand in the Greater Banjul area. Through NAWEC, my government has secured a concessional loan of $22.5 million from the Indian line of credit for the electricity expansion and rehabilitation project in the Greater Banjul area. Meanwhile, the electricity expansion project was completed and inaugurated in November 2020 in Queenan. It provides electricity to over 80 communities in Kiang and the Greater Banjul area earlier in February 2021. The 20 megawatts IDB funded project was inaugurated in Birkama. Up-country, the entire North Bank region and part of the Lower River region now enjoy stable electricity supply. Also, as part of the final phase of the rural electricity expansion project, NAWEC has finally linked the Bansan and Basse subsystems. The recent commissioning of a new 2.7 megawatts engine has centralized supplies in Basse. The capacity that the region now stands above 5 megawatts. To add to the list, under the World Bank supported electricity access project, ECORIB 171 communities will be connected to the network. In the same vein, under the African Development Bank supported project, about 59 rural and peri-urban communities will have access to electricity. In a bid to address the challenges in this sector, NAWEC successfully utilized funds acquired from the Indian line of credit to increase water production and replace 144 kilometers of asbestos pipes throughout the country. Madam Speaker, in May 2021, I laid the foundation stone to upgrade the Brikama Kotu transmission line from 33 kVA to 225 kVA through the World Bank funded Gambia Electricity Restoration and Modernization Project. Additional financing of $43 million from the GRMP project is in hand, and a massive data collection exercise is underway with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics for various operational and transparency purposes. On the AFDB Green Mini Grid, the project identified 10 sites in URR for off-grid connectivity. One of the sites, Nyamanar, already has ongoing project. Madam Speaker, our national company, GNPC, has happily launched its renewable energy project. The project is aligned with the National Renewable Energy Policy for various services, mainly for rural settlements. To sum up, the National Oil Company has already acquired about $209,268 from the UNIDO JEF 5 project to implement a 455.6 kWp solar system project. All this will make a massive difference in the country. Gender, children, and social welfare. Madam Speaker, during the reporting period, the Ministry of Children, Gender, Children, and Social Welfare initiated several legislative and policy developments. One of them is the Strategic and Investment Plan 2021-2025. Additionally, with support from the African Development Bank, formulation of the Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Policy 2021-2030 is in progress. In partnership with the Directorate of Social Welfare and the Department of Community Development, the National Nutrition Agency is leading the NAFA Quick program to support vulnerable households. Madam Speaker, honorable members, supported by UNICEF as part of the COVID-19 response, this ministry assisted 1,000 vulnerable families with children through cash transfers of $1,000 per month for 3 months. Besides this, the ministry provided 575 vulnerable households in the Greater Banjul area with rice and oil in January of this year. Another important initiative is the Women Enterprise Fund, WEF. This is a flagship project of the National Development Plan 2018-2021, with the objective of strengthening the capacity of 10,000 women and girls in micro, small, medium enterprises, MSMEs. The fund provides low-interest credit to women entrepreneurs using a group guarantee macro credit model. The WEF is entirely funded by the government, with $8,315,000 already disbursed to 103 women groups across the country. In August 2021, the Women Enterprise Fund Management Board approved $7 million for 350 women groups who are currently undergoing training on entrepreneurship and business management skills. The fund will be disbursed to the beneficiaries upon completion of the training by the end of August 2021. For September, $10 million will be required to meet the demand for the additional 400 women group assessed, Madam Speaker. In October 2020, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Welfare, acting in partnership with the Office of the First Lady and the World Food Programme, launched a project to reduce the negative impact of gender-related factors on women working in the fisheries value chain. We expect this partnership to grow usefully. Turning to another intervention, the ministry provided $200,000 support to 80 vulnerable families and 40 vulnerable elderly persons under the Family Strengthening Program. These efforts target sustainable solutions within the sector. Finally, guided by the government's commitment to the concept of inclusiveness, the ministry tabled a bill on disability here in June 2020. It was enacted this year to provide the legal basis for all future government policies and programs to take cognizance of the unique need of differently able persons. Environment, climate change, and natural resources, Madam Speaker. Concentrating on the significant development in this sector, I am pleased to report that the construction work of the ONVG, Sona and Brikama power substations project are progressing very well. Turning to the environment this year, the government distributed 350,000 polypods and seeds of assorted indigenous tree species to the central nurseries nationwide for breeding. The tree growing project is part of my government's policy to promote an eco-friendly environment. Among other initiatives, through the large-scale ecosystem-based adaptation project, the sector planted 4,000 hectares of degraded agricultural land, supported 40 school orchards, engaged in enrichment, planting in community forests, and embarked on mangrove restoration in CRR and LRR. On legislation, the National Environment Agency finalized the revised National Environment Management Act, the Waste Management Bill, and the Hazardous Chemicals and Pesticides Management Bill, all within the year. To conclude, I hope that the ongoing Global Climate Change Alliance project, funded by the European Union, will strengthen the sector's performance. Youth and sports. Madam Speaker, honorable members, to effectively and efficiently promote youth and sports development, the youth and sports sector is reviewing some of their sector policies. These include the National Sports Policy and various frameworks of the satellite institutions. Among them is a draft 5-year strategic plan 2020-2024 for sports development. In line with the development of the country's human resource base, 3,724 young persons have benefited from skills training. Some of them have already earned skills in construction and related areas. The ministry portfolio profiled 1,000 youths for possible financing support. These achievements are as a result of the partnership bill with NEDI, PIA, and the NYSS. Taking cue from the decentralization policy for youth empowerment, the Youth and Sports Ministry signed a contract to establish agro-food centers and build 9 stadiums, a bakery, and an auto mechanic center this year. Meanwhile, the National Youth Service Scheme is actively engaging and equipping our youth with livelihood skills in various walks of life. Unfortunately, the proposed Youth National Service is on hold due to the pandemic. Despite this setback, the National Youth Council was able to facilitate for over 25,000 youth access to financing, employment, or economic development opportunities offered by YEP and Techifi partners. To complement this, the Council is mapping and profiling 172 youth organizations into thematic areas for better coordination and facilitation. I must add that over 3,000 youth and schools benefited from migration information and counseling, MIC activities. These include training of school peer education clubs, peer educators and teacher coordinators on migration and MIC. Madam Speaker, the Gambia is doing very well in various international sport competitions such as football, athletics, volleyball, and boxing. For the first time, the nation looks forward to participating in the 2022 CAF tournament, and we do so with enthusiasm and hope. We congratulate all those who raised the Gambian flag high in recent years, including the participants in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. What is the problem? Foreign Affairs, Madam Speaker. At the bilateral level, engagement with countries in the ECOWAS sub-region and beyond, as well as with our development partners globally, are developing very well. To cite examples, my government continues to have strong ties with the countries in the Middle East and the Gulf. The United Arab Emirates, for instance, donated substantial medical items for the fight against COVID-19. Like many other countries, relations between the Gambia and Turkey remain solid and beneficial. We maintain a healthy development cooperation agreement and have signed a protocol on the exchange of land plots for diplomatic missions.
Sorry, Your Excellency, sorry. I had noticed that an honourable member has been raising his constituency tag on a point of order, which is a parliamentary procedure that I have to listen to him. Can I please?
Honourable Speaker, on which authority?
Sorry, no, please.
On which authority, Honourable Speaker?
No, please.
No.
Let us
Can he please cite the authority?
Please, let us exercise decorum.
Let me cite the authority first.
Please, let us exercise decorum. He has to be heard. If I did not have the authority, I would not have exercised it. Period. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on clause 17H. Clapping shall not be permitted in the chamber. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, it's not clapping. Knocking the table is not clapping.
Honorable Speaker, in the table we are not clapping. Yeah. We are not clapping.
Order. Please, can we exercise decorum? Please, can we all exercise decorum? Please.
Honorable Speaker, in fact, we are not even clapping. We are not even clapping.
I am not going to allow any more interventions. Please.
No, what I'm saying, what you mean by saying is not happening. We are not even clapping.
You see, you have accepted the point of order.
We are not clapping. We are beating the tables, and we are supposed to do that.
The point of order is referring to the gallery. I was going to preempt him, but I wanted to hear him. And it's to the gallery. But honorable members are not clapping. They are not clapping. But honorable members, my ruling notwithstanding, I am saying let us all exercise decorum. Please, let us all exercise decorum. And we are not...
Member for Ilyasa, you are not giving the floor. Sit down.
My administration's engagement with key Asian partners, such as India and China, continue to be fruitful. The government of India, for example, generously donated medical items worth over 500,000 US to help curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Furthermore, they have pledged a grant of 500,000 US for crucial projects in our priority areas. Under the framework of FOCAC, the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Gambia signed in June 2020 an agreement on economic and technical cooperation. In addition, the Chinese government provided a grant of 300 million yen for the National Transmission and Distribution Project. This is a top priority for my administration. The Gambia government is grateful to all its development partners and friends in Europe, Asia, America, Africa, and all parts of the globe. We cherish all relations and partnerships and will work to strengthen them. Office of the Vice President, Madam Speaker. To begin with regulation, in 2020, the Food Safety and Quality Authority developed and gazetted the registration and licensing regulation, and the food fortification regulation. It also drafted 2 regulations on food packaging and alcohol. Last year, in collaboration with the Department of Community Development, the Director of Social Welfare and the National Social Protection Secretariat began implementing the $31 million Social Safety Net project. The project targets very poor persons in the West Coast, North Bank, Central River, Upper River, and Lower River regions. One of the components of the project, NAFA, provide cash transfers of $1,500 each to about 15,600 poor households for 18 months. As part of government efforts to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, 78,359 households in 30 districts received support with a double round of $3,000 cash transfers covering July. The National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA, under the Office of the Vice President, continues to engage in providing relief support to households affected by the pandemic in various regions. Regarding disaster, during the reporting period, some victims in the country received support in the form of cash, food and non-food items. Honorable members, the validated National Nutrition Policy 2018-2025 and the draft nutrition bill are scheduled for submission to Cabinet and the National Assembly, respectively, for approval and enactment. Aside from this, the National Population Policy will be revised this year, 2021. On civil service reform, the Personnel Management Office PMO aims to maintain an efficient and duly responsive public sector. In this respect, Cabinet has approved the Pay and Grading Review report. The objective of the review is to overhaul the current pay and grading structure of the civil service. PMO has designed a new civil service grading system and a pay and incentive policy to establish, among other things, a realistic minimum monthly salary for civil servants. To repeal the 1950 Pension Act, a new pension bill is before the National Assembly. When enacted, it will address all issues on pension. Importantly also, PMO is working on reintroducing a performance management system in the civil service. Other areas in the civil service reform include conducting financial reviews to streamline and rationalize the mandates of MDAs. Agriculture, Madam Speaker. The government vision is to increase food and nutrition security while enhancing economic growth through the agriculture sector. The Ministry of Agriculture strives, therefore, to increase productivity based on the sustainable use and management of our natural resources. To achieve this, the Agricultural Transformation Program, ATP, has been structured around production and productivity, promotion of value chains, market competitiveness, and youth employment in agriculture. To increase production and support the farming community during the 2020 cropping season, 36,489 bags of fertilizer, 3,751 bags of improved rice varieties, 2,358 bags of groundnuts, 727 bags of maize, 11 bags of findi were procured and made available to our farmers. In preparation for this cropping season, the Ministry of Agriculture through GGC procured a consignment of 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer and delivered it in March 2021. I am proud to say that government also distributed farm implements to farmers to reduce unnecessary hard work and boost production and productivity. The items included power tillers, threshers, and milling and pumping machines. For use this farming season, 50 tractors were distributed recently. To develop the agricultural value chain and marketing promotion, the ATP will continue to promote mechanization by supplying land preparation, seeding, and weeding machines. Implementing the project will upgrade and upscale rice processing by introducing an integrated rice parboiling and milling machines through public-private partnership. The ATP will promote small-scale processing at the level of the farmers. Training small-scale processors will expose them to good processing practices for product safety and quality assurance, besides investments in expanding irrigation facilities. Government will continue to invest in mechanized harvesting methods to stimulate mechanical tracing and reduce the workload on women. Rightly too, the sector put due emphasis on supporting medium-scale businesses, processing facilities, strengthening public and private sector veterinary service delivery, and efficient management of resources. On a parallel development from its $100 million supplementary budget allocation, the agriculture sector spent $60 million on equipment. On the list, we are tracing and milling machines, power tillers, harvesters, and pumping machines for irrigation. Aside from this, drought animals were purchased and distributed to the farmers on demand. Specific to value chain financing, the program will expand matching grant funds using grassroots structures such as credit union. Similarly, it is hoped that initiating at least 5 agricultural insurance schemes will make agricultural lending safer. Through PPP, the program will provide seed money for these schemes. On the other hand, the PPP will entrust the partner private sector insurance body with the management responsibilities. Besides, it will facilitate establishing an agricultural development bank that focuses on development financing for agricultural value chain. Tourism and culture, Madam Speaker. The indication is that the tourism and culture sector contributes about 25% of the gross domestic product, GDP, and creates employment for about 200,000 jobs. Unfortunately, it is one of the hardest hit sectors as a result of travel restrictions. Overall, the estimated loss to the sector from January to June 2020 was about $6.7 billion. This figure has undoubtedly increased, noting that many establishments are still struggling to get back to full operations. In 2020, the Gambia Tourism Board's GTB recorded 89,232 arrivals. The figure marks a significant decline against the NDP target. In 2021, the arrival figure further decreased to 50,000. Consequently, the loss of revenue to GTB is high. As part of its support packages, government gave the tourism sector a $100 million stimulus package. This year, the government will bear the operating license for hotels and municipal rates. The GTB is not expecting any revenue from operational license in 2021. The National Center for Arts and Culture experienced similar setbacks during the year under review. The closing or scaling down of social events resulted in loss of revenue. Thus, it is necessary to develop the sector through innovative means. Defense, Madam Speaker. The development of the national security policy, the national security strategy, and the security sector reform strategy. This sector is a major step towards a landmark transformation of the security services. To reinforce this, the Ministry of Defense is developing a national defense policy. In like manner, the Gambia Armed Forces Act, which came into existence in 1984, and the terms and conditions of service for officers and soldiers developed in 1993 are all under review to meet the realities of the day, Madam Speaker. The Gambia Armed Forces, GAF, leadership demonstrated commendable solidarity with other sectors to tackle the pandemic. For example, the GAF command attached medical doctors and other essential personnel to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center of the Ministry of Health. Similarly, they provided logistical support and participated in various activities to control the spread of the pandemic. As part of the security sector reform process, we will continue to embark on more purposeful and realistic training programs for our armed forces. We have entrusted them with the security of the nation and will support them to the fullest. Transport, works, and infrastructure, Madam Speaker. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the transport, works, and infrastructure sector registered impressive results. By the end of 2020, government had achieved 100% completion of the 818-kilometer primary road network set in the NDP. This covers the north and south banks of the country. In addition to a paved distance of 650 kilometers also completed 120 kilometers of the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road and the 48-kilometer road from Basse to Koyen. Complementing the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road is a secondary paved road of 13 kilometers connecting Yerobawol to Basse. An other link to the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road is an 18-kilometer paved distance from Kellen Johnson to Bustown. Added to the network of the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas project are two gravel feeder roads of about 20 kilometers. These comprise the Sare-Teneng-Sarengai road link and the Nyakoi-Mbaikunda-Daslame link. With the primary road network completed, the sector is engaging in constructing secondary and tertiary road links and bridges. Along the new Basse-Koina road, two new bridges at the Chamoy and Suduwol, 25 meters and 32 meters long respectively, have been completed this year. In Basse, a 250-meter bridge and another 170-meter bridge in Fatoto have been completed. This $82 million project was financed through a grant from the government of the People's Republic of China. Following the completion of the Sukuta-Jambanjeli secondary link road of 13.5 kilometers, the government is constructing 108 kilometers of feeder roads to ease and expand access to economic and social facilities in various parts of rural Gambia. This project, funded through the EU UNOP grant, has been completed. We have initiated major secondary paved roads on the North Bank, mainly using local resources and funding. Currently, works are in progress to construct 88 kilometers of paved roads in the Nyomi-Hakalang area. Accompanying this is an other set of roads totaling to 175 kilometers. The contract was awarded in January 2020 to be completed in 16 months. Madam Speaker, the construction of the Kiang West roads has commenced with 38 kilometers of paved roads. The execution period is 12 calendar months. Negotiations are underway for the contractor to continue with the remaining 46 kilometers in Kiang. In the capital city of Banjul, the government reconstructed 14 kilometers of severely dilapidated roads and drains using local funds under the Banjul Rehabilitation project. In a similar development, the government has secured funding from Saudi Fund for Development, SFD, equal to $50 million to construct 50-kilometer roads in the greater Banjul area. From the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, OPEC Fund for International Development and Abu Dhabi Fund, government secured 83 million US dollars to upgrade the Batin-Hardin Highway into a dual carriage of 22 kilometers. This stretches from Yundum Johnson to Sittingcon. The civil work will take 24 months. Contracts have been signed as well, using local funds for the maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of selected roads in the Greater Banjul area. They include Bakote Kotu Highway, Brusubi Phase 2 Access Road, Kanifing Estate Access Road, and Kololi Gamtel Access Road. The estimated cost is $90 million. On building projects, the major rehabilitation and reconstruction works at the Banjul International Airport is now complete, doubling the capacity of the main terminal building. The traffic control tower was renovated during the year and re-equipped with new communication facilities. Works are ongoing to construct a new VIP lounge. Additional building projects include construction of the governor's residence and offices in Kerewan, both of which are progressing well and due for completion this year. There are ongoing construction works for markets in various parts of the country. Among them are the fire-ravaged markets of Basse and Brikama and the Latrikunda, Soma, and Farafenye markets. Finally, the ministry has developed a public building and facilities management bill and will submit it to this August Assembly for consideration. The bill proposes a new framework for the design, construction, operation, and management of all government assets, both in the country and abroad. Justice, Madam Speaker. My administration will never waver in upholding the principles of good governance, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. In this respect, with support from the UNDP, the Ministry of Justice succeeded in developing a strategic plan 2021-2025 and revised the 2013 Sexual Offences Act, the 1994 Evidence Act, and the 2016 Legal Practitioners Act. In the same vein, the legislative reforms and transitional justice process commenced in 2017, resulting in the presentation of various bills to this August Assembly. These range from matters of crime, human rights, and freedom to amendments of discriminatory laws against women. We hope to have all pending bills enacted and implemented eventually. As disclosed earlier, consultation and dialogue are continuing to build consensus on a revised draft constitution. My government will provide support to this to happen amicably. On policy, the Ministry of Justice now has a National Human Rights Policy and Action Plan 2021-2025. The government ministries, departments, and agencies will implement the action plan jointly with national and international agencies and partners. Externally, the Gambia signed and deposited the instrument of ratification for the Gambia's accession to the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization on trademarks, otherwise known as the Banjul Protocol. It came into effect in May 2021. Hopefully, it will lead to more investments in the Gambia and boost revenue generation. Regarding registration of businesses and companies, the single window business registry registered a 21% drop in revenue from March and June 2020 compared to the previous year from January to August 2021. 1,500 companies were registered compared to 1,340 during the same period. Despite the challenges, the SWBR managed to collect $17,946,700 from January to December 2020. Supported by the UNDP, the ministry will review the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2005 this year to incorporate more progressive provision on dispute resolution. Focusing attention on legal aid, in 2020, the National Agency for Legal Aid Services tasked to provide legal services across the country received a total of 486 cases. Out of this, 147, representing 30% of the cases, were resolved. The remaining ones are ongoing. Madam Speaker, in January of this year, government extended the mandate of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission by 6 months to enable the Commission to complete and submit its report this year. Once the report is received, government will study it for appropriate action. Internationally, we have complied with all international obligations, and also this August Assembly that we will continue to respect our legal obligations. The Judiciary 5-year strategic plan, launched in January 2021, provides a solid framework to promote an independent, effective, and efficient justice system. We look forward to the forthcoming donor conference with UNDP assistance to secure funding for its implementation. Health, Madam Speaker. Focusing on the pandemic, the government has sourced essential supplies and encouraged local production to meet part of the country's demand for them. As of now, my administration and our development partners have committed over $200 million on medical and non-medical supplies. As a result, the health sector was able to secure substantial face masks, gowns, goggles, IPC materials, ventilators, and other vital equipment for use countrywide. Madam Speaker. Ndemban Clinic and the Sanatorium now operate as treatment centers for people infected by the coronavirus. 3 other treatment centers, Esew, Sona, and Bansan, are in use, and the construction of 8 others in various parts of the country are started. These projects were supported mainly by the United Nations agencies. The Gambia received its first batch of COVAX vaccines in record time, and the vaccination campaign has been a success. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine donated by the government of the United States is now being administered successfully across the country. Government plans to construct an emergency treatment center with 104 beds in Faratu. It will have 20 fully equipped ICU rooms. The World Bank is supporting the construction works and will provide the equipment. The project is the first phase of a proposed teaching hospital in Faratu with 1,500 beds and at least 17 faculties. The contracts for another set of 8 permanent treatment centers housing 40 beds have been awarded already. In this endeavor, we appreciate the support of the World Bank, SSHFC, UNFPA, and TAF Global. Honorable members, through the expanded program on immunization, the health sector is administering vaccinations against 12 preventable diseases. The government is working on mobilizing resources to secure about 2.5 million doses of vaccines for national coverage. Working with our partners, we intend to vaccinate at least 60% of the population. As part of efforts to realize and implement the concept of primary health care, PHC, in the country, PHC has increased in few key villages from 722 to 942, marking an increase of 30%. In a new development, plans are at an advanced stage to establish a national community ambulancing service with an initial fleet of 70 ambulances. Complementing this is the plan to renovate 50 facilities and construct 6 new health centers and 13 new health posts. All this will contribute tremendously to strengthening our health system. Finally, I thank the honorable members for approving the National Health Insurance Authority Bill tabled here some time ago. Department of Strategy, Policy and Delivery, Madam Speaker. With the support of UNDP and the Department of Strategy Policy and Delivery, DSPD, under my office, has made significant progress in building capacity and strengthening the much-needed tools for improved analysis, information sharing, stakeholder engagement, and training in the country. During the reporting period, the department completed and circulated a comprehensive compilation of government policies to extend the reach for evidence-based policy development and implementation. The DSPD earlier this year launched a policy forum on research and policy development. As expected, the department continues to monitor the implementation of the priority projects within the MDAs for timely service delivery. They are also coordinating and monitoring the performance of the President's flagship program for accelerated community development project reported here last year. Madam Speaker, the DSPD is coordinating government's response to the 2019 TIP report recommendations. The staff is working closely with the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons and the National Task Force on Trafficking in Persons, TIP. In this respect, I am happy to report that the upgrading of the Gambia from Tier 2 watch list status in 2020 TIP report resulted in the country's reselection for the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Threshold Program in December 2020. Madam Speaker, the SPD is also implementing an open government initiative, OGI Hour, to promote regular communication and enhance dialogue at the central and local levels. The initiatives seek to foster transparency and accountability in public policy. This is supported by the UN Peace Building Fund to enhance private sector participation in national development. Her Excellency the Vice President and the DSPD continue to support the Ministry of Trade's reforms to improve ease of doing business in the Gambia. Thus far, the key milestones include providing credit rating at the Central Bank of the Gambia, bringing back the single business registry and creating a dedicated commercial court. Concluding remarks. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as this address shows, my government has registered significant successes over the years. On the other hand, the issues raised in the address demonstrate clearly that the tasks at hand are many and quite complex. Addressing them effectively require unity, peace, stability, and the desire and will to promote and defend the nation's cause. Without the pandemic, our rate of development and achievement levels would have been much better. But as good citizens and true democrats, we should appropriately and honorably respond to challenges by remaining focused, continuing to manage our affairs, and move on undeterred. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the national discourse on the country's political evolution has been a significant source of divergence. The executive acknowledges its importance and appreciates the various stands of social life, political standpoints, governance structures, and development approaches fed into it. With reference to this, it is worth emphasizing that my administration's performance need to be examined within the context of 2016, with due cognizance given to the state of the Gambian economy at the time, the socio-political divisions, the poverty levels, the disparities, the high unemployment rate, the dysfunctional government machinery and systems, and the inappropriate use of state resources. The future is much brighter today because of the opportunities created from 2017 to date. Now we can forge ahead with insightful lessons from the past and the present. These are tangible results to build upon for consolidation and expansion, To cite a few examples, these range from the substantial gains made in the energy supply and infrastructure development, to the achievements recorded in the critical components of institutional strengthening and the reforms across all sectors: transitional justice, education and training, civil liberties, media freedom, health and agriculture development. Fortunately, our vision is clear and we have well-defined goals for future action. I will patiently continue to appeal to the people's sense of civic responsibility. As genuine patriotic citizens committed to democratic principles and values, to give the nation their utmost. I urge further that we engage in constructive participation in all national and community issues and events. Aside from this, let us engage in constructive dialogue and discharge our civic and social responsibilities diligently. While we individually have the freedom and right to define and express the concepts that inform our philosophies, we must be alive to other people's ideas and the values that cut across social life, religious conviction, and peaceful coexistence. Democracy guarantees voice and participation to each citizen, but it does so with conditions. Universally, multi-party democracy, which our Constitution seeks to uphold, is derived from legitimacy as defined by the law. Thus, the law must guide our actions. Unfortunately, we have noticed and experienced, in some instances, unjust and deliberate actions that are anti-democratic, yet they are committed in the name of democracy. As human beings, it is contrary to good citizenship to disregard our sense of justice and act on impulse, grudge, hate, revenge, or engage in crime and other negative tendencies that undermine progress and development for the people. In this context, we must appreciate the worth of every citizen, honor the labor of every worker, and reward everyone in due course. As Gambians, we must be sensitive to the pain, sorrows, and desires of those around us, and work towards making life easy and comfortable for every one of us. Concern for the welfare of all is the essence of inclusive development and progress in a democracy. I am happy that together we supported and empathized with the victims of the 7 July windstorm. This is the true Gambian spirit. Let our citizenship rights, blood and social ties, religious faith, goodwill and love for family and nation unite us. Indeed, our common values should oblige us to work together in the best interest of the country. Crucially, all these need to be understood and put into practice in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and principles that govern our institutions. For government, the legal frameworks and operational arrangements of our institutions will continue to condition the content of our national agenda and plan. Madam Speaker, in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, my government has continued to show character, and so have the people. Let us sustain this spirit. As we prepare for the December presidential election, it rests on all categories of leaders and influential persons, especially those belonging to the political parties, to preach peace and stability for an order cycle of free, fair, and transparent elections. Let the Gambian citizens be allowed to vote for the candidates of their choice without pressure or hindrance. I ask the security personnel to be more vigilant than ever and ensure that the rule of law prevails. It is a duty on everyone to fight the criminals in the country and a collective responsibility to stop every form of injustice. Honorable Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank everyone for supporting my government, especially when it matters most. This includes our partners who have stood by us as we pursue the advancement of our dear country. In particular, I thank every Gambian citizen, either living in the country or the diaspora, and every resident of the country for making this transition period a very successful one. The dissenting voices in a democracy contribute to success if taken into consideration for positive action. This has helped me immensely as a statesman and Democrat, so I acknowledge every citizen's positive contribution to the nation. Madam Speaker, to you and all honorable members of this August Assembly, I sincerely express my appreciation and gratitude. Through the National Assembly, you made many decisions and approved numerous bills. The budget requests granted have contributed remarkably to the multiple projects my administration has implemented successfully, as well as those in progress. Thank you very much indeed. I renew my promise to the people of this beloved land and the international community to commit myself to the principles of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law, within the framework of serving my people and my country selflessly and devotedly. In this regard, I ask for your continued support and cooperation. To conclude, I thank you all for your attention and pray that the Almighty God continues to bless our efforts, protect us, and grant us peace and stability. I thank you.
President Adama Barrow, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, as he successfully completed his Sona discussion that he usually do every year. Of course, we had so many sectors being, of course, he deliberated on so many sectors, what had happened, and of course what he has done, and of course what is expected. What is expected to be done sooner or later. Of course, we all know we are heading to elections anytime soon. That is in December 4th, presidential election. We've heard the president talked about the tourism and tourism sector, and of course we heard him talked about the energy sector and the agriculture. Yes, but we will dilate on all these ones in detail, of course, later in the day. Let's just go back inside and listen to the speaker.
Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you. Honorable members, the consideration and debate proper on the motion so tabled will now be adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021, to give honorable members adequate time to peruse through the address, which will be circulated later. But before I adjourn the sitting, please allow me once more, on behalf of both sides of the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for delivering this year's State of the Nation address. Yes, it is indeed a statutory obligation of the President to address the Assembly at least once in each year, but the manner in which the address was delivered this year deserves commendation. The address has indeed outlined the programs and policies of the state. This Assembly will, in the next few days, reflect and debate on the policy statement already delivered. The address will also give us an opportunity to reflect on our achievements and challenges we face as a nation that sincerely demand for national unity, cohesion, peace, and stability for the betterment and progress of our dear country. As the people's representatives, we are charged to commit ourselves to ensure that government policies and programs as outlined are thoroughly scrutinized and debated upon with due diligence. Thus, it is important for us to have a clear understanding of the government's policies, development programs, and aspirations. In a similar vein, Your Excellency, the legislature wishes to recognize in high esteem the efforts of the executive once more in introducing the National Service Bill under a special procedure to ensure it was passed with expediency. This is a testament of the executive's commitment and goodwill in strengthening the institution of Parliament for the general good of democratic governance. And on that note, I would once more express thanks and appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for this year's State of the Nation address, and in the same vein, express thanks and gratitude to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, my Lord, the Chief Justice and Justices of the Superior Courts, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of the Republic, Honorable former Speakers of the National Assembly, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Service Chiefs, the Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, senior government officials here in present, regional chief executive officers, the traditional leaders, venerable religious leaders, members of the press, and all distinguished invited guests for gracing this solemn occasion in the calendar year of the National Assembly. And in addition, on behalf of both sides of this August Assembly, I wish to register our thanks to the entire country for the support and collaboration in our collective drive for nation building. To my honorable colleagues of the National Assembly, I want to reiterate that national development is an enormous task, and as a legislature, our role is very paramount. Thus, I pray that we always be guided in our deliberations by justice and conscience towards the common good. May I also thank all honorable members, the Office of the Clerk, the Task Force, and all those who in their various ways contributed immensely to making this day a success. I pray that Allah the Almighty bless and guide all of us. And on that note, may I once more put the question to adjourn the Assembly until Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. However, I wish to request that all guests remain seated to allow His Excellency, the President and the Vice President and honorable ministers to take leave of the chambers first. And I thank you all. And on that note, I will now put the question, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The Assembly now stands adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. I thank you all for your kind attention. Please can we allow His Excellency.
Mariam Jack Denton, the Speaker of the National Assembly, adjourning the session to Monday, 13th of September 2021. Where the Parliament members are expected, of course, to come and deal or deliberate on the president's speech. Some I know will go in favor of his speech, and some will of course criticize it, as we expect National Assemblies normally do. Julde, the president has already just ended a 90 minutes marathon talk. You see, this is just wonderful, and he has touched on all sectors today.
Indeed, that was a marathon statement by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow, and the sectors he touched on all sectors, ranging from health, agriculture, tourism, of course the economy, which he started with, which is the benchmark of this country. And of course on the economy, he said it has been impressive since 2017, but due to the from 2017 to 2019, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we registered a fall in the economy. And of course the president said that the GDP growth, increased growth was projected at 6%, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have it dropped from negative 1.5%, so which is a huge number. And the COVID-19 pandemic affected all the sectors. If you heard from the president's statement, you realize that it's not only in the economy, but all other sectors, there is a huge decline due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, he talked about the domestic mobilization of our natural resources, and even that sector was affected. That is the tax and the non-tax revenue. As you know, Gambia is a tax-based economy. We depend highly on taxes for our development agendas and all that. So on the tax, domestic tax mobilization, the president of course said that in 2020 they collected an amount of $13.4 billion of total revenue in 2020. But out of that, 11.4 billion was on taxes, and of course 1.8 billion was on non-tax revenue that was collected in the year 2020. We would have expected a lot of increasement, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they could not, collect much taxes in the year 2020. So of course, the government also he talked about the allocated funds in the COVID-19 pandemic. He said his government worked tirelessly to ensure that people did not feel, the pinch of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he said that his government allocated $850 million to support vulnerable families across the country. And of course, he said after that phase was over, the government also rolled out another additional $200 million to support families in the country, to make sure that they cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, the president also, aside from the economy, the president also touched on the area of basic and secondary education, and of course the enrollment process, which he said a huge number was registered in the past legislative year. So he said 5.2% growth was registered in the lower basic school, and of course 2.4% in the upper basic schools, and 1.6% in the senior secondary school, which is a huge amount there. And of course, on the area of infrastructure, one would have asked, what is the government of the Gambia doing in terms of the area of infrastructure? He said there is a huge growth registered in terms of the enrollment of these students. But what about the infrastructure? If there are no classrooms for these students, they will find it very, very difficult to have a space to sit and learn. But he said that the government of the Gambia, under his leadership, was able to build 2,173 new classrooms, within the space of 4 years, which one would say that is a huge number, 2,173 new classrooms, within the period of 4 years. And he said that the government also is expected to complete another 134 new classrooms across the country. So he said his government is not relenting in making sure that they give the needed infrastructure to the people of the Gambia. And classrooms also, the classrooms that are also renovated, it's not an exception. They are also on the renovation part. And on the renovation part, he said 1,389 classrooms they were able to renovate those classrooms across the country, which is a huge number. Of course, the COVID-19 came in, and a lot of people took to social media in the past months to criticize the government of the Gambia, saying that You know, the classrooms, they are unbearable, the classrooms are horrible, students do not even have, you know, chairs to sit onto and all that. And of course they're saying that even the toilets at schools is very, very horrible. But the President of the Republic of the Gambia is here reaffirming his government's commitment towards, building these classrooms to the students of the Gambia. And of course toilets, he said, you know, his government will build 2,500 more toilets, you know, across the schools in the country. And of course teachers, you know, they should not be forgotten. They play a very important role because they're the ones who educate the students, and they're the ones who are contributing immensely towards the development of this country. They are not forgotten. He said his government was able to build 836 teacher accommodation facilities across the country, so which is also a huge number. Oftentimes if teachers are taken to the urban, rural areas, they find it very difficult to have accommodations, or even the accommodations that they are, that they enter, it's somewhat not very, very good. So as a result, his government was able to build this huge number, 836, rooms for the teachers. And on the issue of higher education, like I said, it was a marathon speech, 90-minute speech by His Excellency the President. And of course he talked about the area of education. He said, his government was able to transform GTTI into a degree awarding institution, which over the years we all know GTTI was just like other normal tertiary institutions, but now it is, students at the GTTI will be able to have a degree upon completion. And of course access to higher education. Most students or most Gambians are complaining that higher education is very, very costly. To go to the University of the Gambia, you have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars monthly or annually to be able to, have a degree at the end of the year. But his government, President Adama Barrow, is saying that his government was able to sponsor 1,414 students at at the University of the Gambia, and of course 200 others at the international level, and 600 more in other tertiary institutions. So his government, he's saying his government is not only focusing on the university students, but of course other tertiary institutions as well. So he said his government was able to sponsor 600 more students in other tertiary institutions. So Binta, basically on the Faraba issue too, we know that it is under completion, and that sector too, it's not forgotten. He said they still on the Faraba campus, construction, and of course the sector is mobilizing another additional $22 million to complete the construction of the Faraba facility. So of course on the skills too, Demban Skills Center in Fonyi, he said that will kickstart next academic year. So basically that is it on the area of education, area of economy and all that. So we just quickly leave you to do that in the local languages. So
Julde, we will just go with Nyang also, so that our all of viewers also will have an idea of some of these things that the president has talked about. Nyang, dégg nañ lu bari loo xamante ne président bi wax na ko fi si secteur si yëpp daanaka yoo xamante ne mu ngi si government bi. Waaw, jox ñu rek details yoo xamante ne wax na ko fi.
waaw jërëjëf Peter, lu mel ni njiiti réew mi moom kaddu gaaral na li nga xam ne mooy kaddu li nga xam ne moom la waroon a gaaral fii si National Assembly. wax na lu am solo, laal na si buntu yi bëree bëri si njàngale mi la njëkkee, si yokkute yi nga xam ne def nañ ko si yëpp wax na ko. classroom yi nga xam ne defar nañ ko ak yu yeesalaat ak yi nga xam ne defar nañ ko ba si ay wanag yëpp président bi indi na loolu mu nekk lu nga xam ne lu am solo la. waaye tamit ñu doon xaar yokkute yi nga xam ne am na si njàng, waaye classroom dafa am ñu fay nekk mooy xale yi ñooñu naka seen taxawaay naka la, lan la leen di amal seen kaaraange si biir school bi, seen équipement yi soxla si biir school bi ko seer na, lan dimbal la si nguur gi am pour way jur yi te school baa ngi ne ñoo di ubbi si loolu dañ ñu si doon xaar président bi wante dégguñ ko. jàngalekat yi tam ñi nga xam ne ñoom lu classe bi rafet buñ fa newut amul njëriñ lan la leen président bi amal lan la nguur gi amal loolu ñooñu tam seen mbir tegguñ président bi mu gaaral si lu jëmee noonu te ñooñu den am solo jàngalekat bi mbiram dafa war a nekk lu yemb parce que kuy def si xam-xam xale kooku war nañ koo bàyyi xel ba nga xam ne ni spécial yi nga xam ne dañ leen a jëlee fii transfert leen ñu dem si kaw bi dëkkin bi daf day xaw a doy waar trop seen nekkuwaay loolu nguur gi war nañ xaaral nañ si président bi mu indi si texee mu nga xam ne ni jàngalekat bi fi jógee nga dem Basse wala nga dem fii ba kuy naa la wala nga dem fii ba Banikoro sa nekkin ak sa yëpp daf na yembu mel ni yow yaa ngi biir komba fii loolu ñu ngi si doon xaar président bi ko ñëw si ak seen mbiri fay seen yëpp ñu ngi si doon xaar ndax dafa war a nekk lu nga xam ne ni ñu jógee si fuñ nekk fuñ romb la jëm feneen ba léegi gisuñ ki nga xam ne mooy njiitu réew mi laal si buntu yooyu nga xam ne mel na noonu te jàngalekat dafa am solo balaa ngaa wax taalibe bi student bi wala classe bi wala effectif jàngalekat bi moo fa nekk condition bi jàngalekat yi pour teg leen si good condition ñu ngi si doon xaar njiitu réew mi waaye gisuñ ne loolu ñëw na si mbiri napp bi tam muy lu am solo loo xam ne askan wi ñu ngi koo jooy fii si biir réew mi because ñu ngi si doon xaar ay solution yu bëree bëri because leerawaloon mbir pour nga lekk fi jën bu nga xam ne ni jën bu normal la loolu fokk nga génnee xaalis bu bëree bëri pour nga door ko mun a am sa jabar mun laa toggal jën yu weex yu ponkal yu fresh te loolu mu ngi ci biir dëkk bi waaye gis nañ ne li si gën a bëri buñ ko nappee dañ ko daal di yóbbu li nga xam ne mooy bitim réew kon bëggoon waroon nañ ñu doon xaar jiitu réew mi si yu mel noonu tam mu promise Gambien si ne lu jën yi ñoo amee si biir réew mi gaa dinañ ko jaay pour koom-koom am si réew mi waaye ban quantité ban waroon nañ am xayma li nga xam ne moom la Gambian population bi soxla si jën ñu ko fee bàyyi pour ñëpp mu ngi see jot seen loxo parce que dañ si am seen àqala ak seen yelleef parce que ndox mi loolu si biir réew mi fii la nekk ba tax na lu si ëpp doole léegi yaa booy tas bi ak kooba gi leen mën a am seen dëkk waaye yeneen jën yi ñu seen loxo des seen gannaaw mënuñ see am yan pexe la amoon pour loolu ñu ngi si doon xaar ki nga xam ne mooy njiiti réew mi ñëw na tam si li nga xam ne mooy wàllu communication wax na am na loolu yokkute bu rëy am na soxla bu ko réeréw leen bi fan yi rek am na loi bu nga xam ne mu ngi woon si constitution bu ko maytee mu ñëw di fi wax te teggil na ko li nga xam mooy taskati xibaar yi wax dëgg foog tak yenn yi nga nangu ko ne démocratie am na jéego bu mu am si biir réewu Gambia depuis 2017 ba léegi loolu nagul nekk ko am na tënk yu loi yi tënkoon taskati xibaar yi loolu génnee nañ ko kon foofu dafa ne ni loolu xibaar bu wér la bu wóor bu nga xam ne président bi nguuram doxale nañ ko teggi nañ loi yooyu freedom of speech am na fi te am nga droit right dem si office bu ñoo liggéeyee gëstu la fay dox te yoon may na la ko léegi te kenn du la stop kon dafa mel ni foofu am nañ fi jéego bu baax ba dem na si wàllu dem ak ñëw na tam si wàllu wax na si wàllu dem ak dëkk bi loolu tam ñu ngi si doon xaar réaction yi président bi si transport yu noonu wéréwulo mbir ñu ngi tëgmal andi tattin taxawal trafic bi yëpp si biir réew mi te moom mu war a génne andi tattin yan solution la si nguur gi def pour gis ne loolu du am yan solution ak pexe la nguur gi am si recommande yi nga xam ne ni rek naka la transport yu noonu laajte na leen ko lu mel ni garage lu mel ni rang si port bi comme juróom-benn ponk yi transport union tënk lan la si nguur gi am pexe ba indil ko transport union ba ondi tatin gréew bi du am te gis nañ ne loolu président bi ñëw si te ondi tatin la moo génne réew mi te transport union fexe nañ pour ba nga ondi tatin bi ñoom itam bépp moto buy daw si biir réew mi taxaw si loolu tam ñu ngi ko doon xaar président bi transport bi léegi moo ëmb tam ñëw na si mbiri yoon wax naa la ne fii si njëlbeen gi ne le président bu ñëwee si mbiri yoon am na lum si wax bu ko teg ne xeer si yoon yu bëri am na yoon yu bëri yu pare lim na ko Lamin Koto pass ba diggante bu gudd la boo xam ne balaa am doon pare driver yi faa daw dinañ am ñetti yoon si diggante boobu waaye gis nañ ne suñu nguuram yoon boobu pare na li si mel ni Jambanjeeri li si mel ni Hakalang road bi so yoon am na si risol boo xam ne mun na ko wax te ñëpp dinañ ko nangu li si mel ni bridge yi tam wax dëgg yàlla mun nañ ko tuddee sax master bridge fii si Gambia parce que Yaya Jammeh benn bridge la fi tombé mooy Kerewaan président Jawara mun neen wax ne yeneen bridge yi xëy na man xaw ma bridge yi mu fi defee waaye président kii di Barrow Basse Fatota ten nga am tam bi nga xam ne mooy ak bi nga xam ne tam mooy Farafenni Sénégambia bridge kon bridge am na si risol ak li nga xam ne mooy yoon te yeneen yi nga xam ne ñu ngi ñëw si mbiri faj mi tam wax na si bu baax boobu itam ñëw na si ak yeneen binta loo xam ne ni président bi tënk na ko ñëw na tam si mbiri li nga xam ne mooy atte gi loolu tam mun neen ci wax ne président bi am na lu mu si am because mosuñoo gis fi si nguur gu fi jógee mosuñoo gis lii di nguur gi ñàkk li nga xam ne mooy kees si kanami attekat yi te moom ñaari yoon ñàkk na li nga xam ne mooy atte si li nga xam ne mooy kees fii si biir réew mi kon mu ngi mel ni doxale ni loi si biir réew mi loolu am na jéego boo xam ne amal na ko si nguuram loolu dinañ ko nangol parce que nekk na lu nga xam ne lu am na ten si daaneelam ñaax na askan bi pour ñuy wax jaama di si dox ba pare nga nekk doomu réew mu gëm réew mi nekk doomu réew mi exemple loolu moom moo si war a jiitu moom tam nag am na askan bi dinañ ko wax mu bàyyi xelam si ay kàddum comme que dénkaane na nit ñi sàmm seen kàddu xam la ñuy wax moom itam war na mën a bàyyi xelam si xëy waat parce que gis nañ ne ay weer si gannaaw ay njuumte kàddu yu bëri jib na si làmmiñam te lu koo xam ne moom mooy njiiti réew mi kon loolu dafa ne nit ñi askan bi rafetlu ko te ñu ngi askan bi tam wax nañ ne na gën a bàyyi xel moom itam ay kàddoom na gën a bàyyi xel ay doxalinam su ko defee su tugalee nit ñi doxalin boobu dina nekk lu nga xam ne lu askan bi di bàyyi xel la wax na tax si mbiri élection bi ñëw décembre foot bi mu wax si lu am solo loo xam ne ni wax dëgg yàlla dal na xeli réew yi ne élection jàmm mun na am si élection bi parce que ne neen bàyyee Gambien si ñu tànn ku leen neex su boobaa kooku mooy jiite réew mi mii di Gambia Binta loolu daal si tënk jëlee nañ ko si li nga xam ne ni président bi gaaral na ko.
We can switch to Mandinka also, just a highlight of what you deliberated on of course, English.
Exactly. Coming for Komanto Dorong, Angale Kangoto Binta, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, Adiamuta Economy Fanala. And même for economy la ako kabring 2017 Gambia la economy be bete yari na bitaka nkule ako bari kabring 2019 sita Gambia la economy nata ka boy iko molye men expect no wala 6% growth te bari nga jele ko is negative 0.4% economy be wole to science. So ako mune yatina ako COVID-19 pandemic wala na sa Gambia la economy be boy kando maning andu amanke Gambia la economy da mati fanna dol fanan la economy wo fanan be boy kanne bari Gambia jang amanke economy da mati fanna dol fanan COVID-19 ja kurango ning aya batandi bakele fanna melbe ko health wala jaral dula melbe ko agriculture membe ko tourism, all these sectors me alanko aya fole andu aya fole coming COVID-19 pandangol yo sector sol tale aya batandi bake domestic mobilization tol mu tax based economy netin ka balu tax lele tax wala na mol ka namo mol ka fo me namo mol ka wala ka tinna ni Gambia abita ka nyata wala ka tinna kan develop beno ke anyama so ako namo yemen collect 2020 atata 4 million 13.4 billion dalasi atata photo andu ako 11 out of that 13.4 billion ako 11.4 billion dalasi wo mu tax revenue wala menta tax non tax ako mi 1.8 billion de so ya jele ko sector fanan ko min ko boy tanding kele kantu mune yo sabu business wol man tarata ka nyama you know mola do ku nyal man tarata ka nyama so wala na revenue nying pour ka collect ajita bakele so president of fana ya fole ko komin ko bari wokan hani atara tax government ala government nyina revenue nying amantara soto kan anyama ko hani wokan de ay million 800 adding 50 million ay waleta aya bondi ka di Gambia di ngol pour ye fan mako no nying COVID-19 pandemic ako kabra bota wala fanan ala government o million keme fula ay ye waleta ka di Gambia no la pour ye fam mako yala so akala government no yo beke kata you know basic and education sector ni walen karango nyaati walen diningol membe lower basic upper basic and senior secondary ako ala government na ko mi mo jamale be dunkan school kanta tata for 5.2 you know 2% of mol mi yalan ko diningol ibe dunkan karamoto aka lafata bakele andung 2.4 wala dunta upper basic school aning atata for 1.6% wala diningol mi yalan ko dunta senior secondary school ako hani wakan ate fanan la man sakunda aya kata bakele kantu itata wuli 2173 classroom on mi yalon ko ya lole ako ala government o yo lole 4 months within 4 months 4 years rather ala government o yo lole ako wo kam fanan ala government o yemen expect coming kake ako 134 wala kemen nin tan sabanin nani ha walen kemenin tan sabanin nani ala mansakunda nyanta wale lola classroom wol within jannin December karobe lola ako fanan kan ako ala government o fanan ana ya traiba ke le kantu ye class 1389 class ol mi yalon ko ya renovate le class ol mi yalon ko e mambete ya baka dol boyta dol be nyame amantara bete yari ko ala mansakunda ya traile ko classroom molta ka renovate toilet fanan walen ko kamol to fana akala mansakunda fana e doko ke oto bakele kantu keme fula 2500 toilets meme yalon ko ala mansakunda yo fananta aya low schoolol to amanke Greater Banjul dammati bari schoolol to kata karton fo koyna ako fanan amanyina teacher solla de ala mansakunda amanyina teacher solla de kanto ala mansakunda fanan ya lole 836 bungol mi yalon ko ya lo pour teacher sol fanan ye anda manke Greater Banjul area dammati bari ka bankol be to from karton to koyna yol be lole ka tinna ko isaje teacher sol fanan ni be karandirola ya soto ibe tarla daminto higher education walem ko karang fanna la meme yalon ko dindingol karamunto dindingol mi yalon ko be karan kan andu be fanna balto walem higher education ti aka manyina o fanna GTTI meme yalon ko institutionolem meme yalon ko itata ko mecce karango walem wo fenkote walem GTTI te baraka la man sakunda ya try bakale pour ko GTTI ka bondi o tertiary institution o ka ke university ti ako sain karamunto dindingol mi yalon ko e be karango la GTTI sain ni jita e se degree soto nole comme university dindingol bo akata ku ma balti ako access to education mod funding ke jamal be siri kafo ititano la karamungoto e manko do soto because university a serta bakele bari ako atela man sakunda ya kata bakele o fanna la kantu 1414 karamunto dindingol ya tala ye sponsor pour kata university ako fanan amanyina karamunto dindingol melbe other tertiary institution ako ala man sakunda fanan manyina wala kantu 600 more students meme yalon ko ala man sakunda yo dema pour yel ke la karamungol joyeta wo tertiary institution auto yela karangol ke anyama faraba campus fanan abe iba lokane akala man sakunda ba lokane andu sainteng ajam fata bakele faraba campus la loro ajam fata bakele ako andi fanan 22 million dollar ako ibe waleta kan ka funyoma isaje ala man sakunda ye fenko ibe men lokan faraba campus to pour ya labang ako ala man sakunda fanan bo wotole ndemman skill center fana membe foni ako abal ala man sakunda fana ba trailer bakele ko fana katina ko yo ndemban clinic ta ya lo skill center ta ya lo isaje karamunto dindingol yeta ye karango ka nyama ndemban skill center ko GTTI la wo fana mu métier dulalti pour mollita karamunto dindingol bitaji yeta karangola di yeta métier karanje ako ala man sakunda ba trailer le ensure ko janding next academic year yota ya low. Of course atata police role fanan la fanna la interior police role soldier role aning mo ko tangol mi yalon ko e tolle batina kan sa molbe damin ton teni tebe sirinjang be comfortable link ya tanko la karola so aka manyina wol fanana kanto abata kana pour ka wol ta kay karandi capacity building ko wala londo ta ka la fa o fanala ako ala man sakunda fana manyina wala ako code of conduct fana ibata kana iba develop kan code of conduct ti wala police wala code of conduct katina ko comme ila inyanta men kala ani manyanna men kala wala mu ila code of conduct men batina la men be de mala ila do ko kan ako ala man sakunda fana bo ta kanne ka jibo ka ko fana develop. Immigration department fanang imanyina wala ako amantara doron kata immigration ka molla ID card hol dila ka molla passport hol ta ka dada aning fanna ko tangol ako immigration department fanang wolem ika kodota la ika nati man sakundala kofas kan ako in immigration ako itata ye mem mobilize in the year 20 kabrin January for December karo ako atata le for over 91 million dollars wala immigration department o yo kodoleta ya kafunyoma ako fanang drokuo ala man sakunda man feya wala ay batannale ay melbe do ko wala drug law enforcement agency ka ke sembentuya ke makoy fo ayatina ko ye droko ta ya kele nyim banko kan yatina fo droko te kala minto mem yalon ko abe kala melbe droko la ata tinala ko ebe kara drug a safe haven in the Gambia ako ala man sakunda fanan ba try kan wo fanala pour ko wol fananta ke makoy isaje droko nyin ibe droko kele la nyame Gambia banko kan na bota wala fanan tata ako lands regional government and employment ako fanan capacity building walen ko karandi about that area pour katina ko yela doko ka nyama ako UNDP project ako ani government of the Gambia ala man sakunda ni UNDP ibe collaborate kanne kana kakafunyoma katina ko komin ko ye fuare atala nying Gambia banko kan akala man sakunda fanan boke kan bakele ako na bota wala binta ako land collection fanan land rent collection mem yalon ko ako COVID-19 sa nying ako ayeje fanan batani bakele o fanna ako be kantu ikamen soto non anin sain amanke kilinti ako bari hani wo ya alaman sakunda ya traile pour ka kodota ka soto woto ako revenue performance men yemen taje about land rent collection ako atatale 4 million tan sabanim fula dalasi dalasi ako yoleta ya collect on the land rent collection yin Fisheries fanang asiata le kom nga fo nyame 90 minutes mu maran asiata bakale bare nga suti yandi kantu nin ko mbabe folambe mela jenne mbadim flor fa exactly mbadim flor fana yasoto ako on the area of fisheries fanang water resources and natural water ako wol fanang African Development Bank iba try kan ne ka support ka construct ako wolen 1,404 solar power pipe water systems in the country ako holdung abatinala ko 400,000 rural households batinala ko ye geosoto ako nyin solar power system odu wo batinala ko 400,000 rural residents mem yalon ko ibe santolto isaje wol fanan ye geosoto wo kuma balti na bota wala fan ako fanan Chinese government o fanan yala man sakunda de ma bakele kantu ye de ma le 20 other pipes mem yalon ko ye de ma wala isaje ye construction o dati anu ya install in the year 2021 inyanta ko fenkele andu iko in the year 2021 wo project o nying na banta coming yemen expect 80,000 persons in the rural Gambia wo fanan be geo sotolale wo keta kuma balti rehabilitation of fish ponds mo jama ka fo sain tolla janga ba sotole bari bañi na fatala kantu ni tata Marcel toy ka fole ko nyewol buka soto nyewol dabe koleyarine ani umobe kumbola o karol bari sa ako ala government o ala man sakunda be project dole nate kan ako project ko na banta ajikita ko nye soto abe sone ala bakela Gambia dingole ako niyo project ko bante awo batina la ko wobe sone ala bake Gambia dingole manding ko ni na serero ilafta wala bakele. So on the issue of press freedom mal nyina journalist ol fananda press freedom kantu akala man sakunda ye be batra ka wo fanna fanana kantu ako nunto niaji be freedom of expression o mantara jam bari sa be janne ako Gambia nunto ila press freedom index abe 9 position in the West Africa comme West Africa bankol kan ako bari sa niaji be wo move tabakele kantu sa wo be around 10 position in the sub region ako ala man sakunda fana ya try woto bakele ama medama access to information bill ate fango yo sign ka nati pour kake luwate nyi Gambia banko kan andu womu bilo mi yalon ka be mol mako la man ke journalist ol damati bara be mol fana mako la le mo bele mako la pour transparency eke accountability eke abe mol mako la nyame wolen ko ni sulata information ola man sakunda to isita no la doro ya fo ko sulata ni information karilla isaje ya dila so wole atna wo access to information bill akuma yata bake le binta
so julde na teriya doro na fofula kan to do man because mobe man English ni man ka kawni fenko moy just a summary ya teriya de do man
okay comme musidbe pulbe hande ko min kalto do president President Adama Barrow hala makko ka ɓooyi o yehi ha 90 minutes hala makko ka ɗum ɓooyi yimɓe ɓooyiɗo joɗogol ngol ɓooyi way kono no fuɗɗori ko ɗum woni affaire kalis mbo leydi o heɓi o oyi o waktu nat ñaw gonɗo ɗo o yimɓe fof nagandi ñawna ɗo te ñaw o na tampini dulaji ɗi fof te President Adama Barrow ko wi natnak o wi kila hitande 2017 ha yawma he 2019 o wi laamu makko mbo waɗa tray no bete so ari he kulle kalis o wi kono noon gila 2019 ha joni o wi kalis o waktu mbo économie mbo yimɓe keɓata mo o yo jippima because yimɓe ɓe ko cikkuno ko heɓanno a 6% increase o kono joni ɗum jippima ha négative 1.5%. o wi ko ɗum waɗi kadi resource mobilisation ko ɗum waɗi yimɓe mo gandanta naamuji ɓe yimɓe ɓe ƴettata ɗi he gandi Gambia ɗo enen ɗo ko naamuji ɗi rek jakorɗen pour mbawen wadde ko heewi ɗo mbawen darnude skulaji lopitaniji he goɗɗum o wi kadi hen naamuji he o wi ɓe guitti 13.4 billion dalasi guluje sappo e tati he nayyi o wi ko ɗum billion dalasi ko ɗum laamu makko o heɓi o wi heɗen he on kalis nak wulure sappo he go'o he nayyi o wi billion o wi ko ɗum gananta ko ɗum itta he tax ko ɗum woni ɓe yeeyoɓe ɗo kala jeeyoɗo ɓe guittat naamuji he ɗumani ko ɗum noon ko ɗin naamuji ɓe guitti o wi kadi 1.4 billion gananta ɗum wona he kulle naamuji e comme ko other sectors ko ɗum ko hen ɓe guitti ɗum o wi kono noon government o wi kadi ha he ɗum fowde kala ɗum ko waɗi COVID-19 o waɗi bonande hewde o wi kono hay he ɗum fowde government makko laamu makko o waɗi try pour o itta 850 million dalasi guluje capanɗe jeetati e capanɗe million ngaji capanɗe jeetati he 50 o wi ɓe mbaɗi try ɗum pour ɓe mbaɗa support yimɓe ɓe gananta ɓe ngalano bete akka ɓe ñamiri o wi kadi nde ɗum gasi government makko laamu makko waɗi feere yaltini kadi million ngaji temeɗɗe 2 pour wallito yimɓe ɓe gananta ɓe mbawa wallude hoore maɓɓe he dow ngu ñaw o immi toon kadi o haali kulle jangde ko ɗum waɗi basic and secondary education o yimɓe hewɓe noon na naata school hitande yawtude nde ɗo o wi natɓe ɓe school he lower basic o yeehi ha 5.2%. o wi kadi natɓe ɓe he upper basic o yeehi ha 2.4% and kadi yaaɓe ɓe he senior secondary school yeehi ha 1.6%. o wi ɗum fof noon o wi kankone laamu makko o na waɗa try because ɓe mbaɗi feere guluje ɗiɗi temedere capanɗe jeeɗiɗi e tati classroom uji gananta ko ɗin classe uji ko ɗin ɓe ɗumani ni ko ɗin ɓe pewni he lebbi he duuɓi 4 o wi ko ɗum ɓe pewni o wi kadi ha ɗani ɗon nde o wi government makko ha joni ɓe golla ɓe mbaɗa make sure ne ɗo yo nde hitande nde gasɗe ɓe pewnat kadi classe uji goɗɗi ha ɗi tolnino temedere capantati hen 4 classe uji gananta ko ɗum ɓe ɗamini ɓe pewnat ɗo yo hitande nde mayde kadi o immi ɗon kadi o wi laamu makko o kadi ɓe mbaɗa make sure ne ɓe pewnitima kadi classe uji ko yeehi ha wulure 3 he capanɗe jeenayyi classe uji gananta ko ɗin ɓe pewniti gananta goɗɗi ɗi na ñanno goɗɗi ɗi no ɗi goniri ni moƴƴani goɗɗi ɗi pewani o wi laamu makko o ko ɗum ɓe pewni o immi ɗon kadi o wi fallum kamaji ɗi o wi kadi o wi laamu makko o fewni ko yeehi ha no guluje ɗiɗi he capanɗe he 500 kala kamaji gananta ko ɗin laamu makko o fewni o wi kadi ha hande noon ɓe jejjitani ticcaɓe ɓe binta o wi ticcaɓe ɓe noon ɓe mbaɗi feere ɓe darnani ɓe cuuɗi ko gananta na tolni ha guluje 7 capantati he 6 o wi ko ɗin classe uji ko ɗin cuuɗi ɓe pewnani ticcaɓe gananta ko ɓen goni he jangguinde ɓe sukaɓe o wi ɗum noon wona haɗani e Greater Banjul area tan ko fof gila Katon ha Koyna ko ɗum ɓe ɗumanini wonɓe ɓe noon he jangde mawde he ko ɗum woni higher education gananta ko ɓen woni he university ji he walla other tertiary institution o wi kadi ɓe yejjitani ɓe because GTTI o wi ɓe guitti GTTI to a tertiary institution ɓe nawi GTTI to a degree joni kala gonɗo toon ha a janggi ha a gayni a akkete degree joni wayno kono university ɗo jangguɗa o wi kadi government laamu makko o wallitima sukaɓe tolniɗo gulure 4 he sappo he 4 nayi sukaɓe gandanta ko ɓen laamu makko walliti yoɓani ɓe school aji maɓɓe ɗi o wi ɗum ɗon fof noon laamu makko waɗi ɗum o wi kadin o wi ɓe joɓani 600 sukaɓe gandanta ko ɓen goni he janggude he oɗa tertiary institutions o haɗani he university tan binta ko haali ko noon na heewi kono en mbaɗa tray rek mbaɗen summarise ɗo yo time o fodde o wi kadi farade ba gananta ko ɗon ɓe pewnata ɗon oɗa classrooms for university students o yejitani ɓe joni ɗum ɗo government makko waɗat feere ha ɗum gasa joni o wi kadi government makko na waɗa mobilise $22 million pour ɓe gaynita ko ɗum woni ko ɓe mbaɗata ko faraba campus o wi haɗani ɗon o Demban skill center kadi gonɗo o fooñi o waɗat feere kanko he government makko ɗo yo yimɓe ɓe gudidde school aji next academic year pour o ɗumanina o waɗa make sure ne ɗum ɗon gasi beela yimɓe ɓe mbawa yaade toon jangga binta ɗum heewi noon kono musidɓe fulɓe ɓe ko ɗum ɗo he Adama Barrow haalnoɗo hande na heewi ko haali ko kono yimɓe mbawa ko haalede fof
90 minutes ɗum ɗon no ɗuuɗi ha ɓurti Modja ma mbaylañit rek nga tagato parce que watuɓe jamuñu nañ fu mu nekk nii
waaw jërëjëf ak ñu doon seetaan Africa TV yëpp comme si président bi tam li mu kàddu ñëw na si jawriñ ji ñu dénk mbiri ndaw ñi ci wax na si sport bi yëpp waaye dafa fàtte sport bu nga xam ne buñ ko laajoon moom mu ne moom la gën a bëgg muy làmb boobu tuddut ko fi te ñooñu ñi ngay waajal lii di ECOWAS te ECOWAS international lifin la tournament la ay réew fukki réew Afrique ak ñeent ñoo fay dajee kon dafa mel ni waa làmb tam ñoom dinañ ci gisuñ seen bopp si li nga xam ne mooy adresse nation bu nga xam ne président Barrow joxe na ko tudd si volleyball tudd si sax ba Tokyo bi passé nii tudd si basket handball tudd si lu nekk ba mu des làmba te làmba rak indi raaya fii réew mi loolu dinañ bokk na si li nga xam ne askan bi waa làmb dinañ ko laaj parce que den bokk si ron ñi ngi si ron ministre bu nga xam ne ñooy mooy youth and sport te làmb tam si sport bi la bokk te suñu aada la ak suñu cosaan te moom mooy favorite li fi nam sport am mu ne moom la gën a bëgg lu tax mu desala ko gannaaw te ñooñu tam am na luñ soxla wax na ne ministre boobu tam samp nañ juróom-ñeenti stadium si région si biir réew mi yëpp waaye gisuñ tam si loolu tam ñu tudd si ne loo xam ne aaren la bu nga xam ne tam làmb moo ko moom parce que adresse di nation réew mi lépp ñëpp la lu nekku ne def ci ne sooy waxal ñëpp nag ku si ne tam bu si gisul boppam dafa daal di wax ne lii ñu ngi ko doon séntu waaye gisuñ ko lii saafara si lan la am na département yu bëree bëri bunt yi bëri wax na ko def na si jéego waaye jéego yi des mos li ñoo dee ëpp yi nga xam ne nii si yooyu la nekk su ko defee am na solo xam lu si des lu fi président bi wax yëpp mënuñ koo tënk si ay simili rek waaye dañ leen bàyyi rek xam naa ne fi léegi fan dinañ si ñëw yaatal lu gënee bëri incha allah.
Julde mi accaman kadi waynoɗa musidɓe
musidɓe fulɓe mi jarna on hande Eye Africa TV ɗo minen garanno on ɗo pour addana on ko wiyete ko State of the Nation Address President Adama Barrow ara ɗo haalda yimɓe ɓe laamu makko kamɓe ko hoɗum ɓe jogani en ko hoɗum golle hoɗum ɓe goni kadi ko dulaji gananta ɓe poti toon wadde improve ko ɗum President Adama Barrow ari ɗo pour halna yimɓe ɓe kadi ko projects ji hoɗi laamu makko waɗata kadi projects ɗi hoto ɗe tolni joni ko ɗum min garno ɗo a jarama on jarama no bete ko no kettori ɗon non mi on ɓooyi joɗade gila subaka hen ɗo jooɗi kono hay noon hon moñani min hon ɗo jooɗodi e amen min jarna on no bete he ɗum ko min wonno Julde Ndiaye Suware musidɗo moɗon ha ñalane wonde.
Well, viewers, it's been a long day. Of course, we've been always here, and keep watching Eye Africa TV for more interesting programs and news. Of course, don't change the channel. Watch Eye Africa for everything during the week you want to know. You will know it. It's me, Binta Jallo, of course, your host, and my colleagues here, and it's bye for now.
The locations